Chapter 9:34. After the lightning tribulation passed, the multicolored light arrived. Within the multicolored light, there was a golden light that made people respect it. Whether it was the multicolored light that could increase his strength or the power of virtue, they were all rewards for passing the lightning tribulation. Night Sorrow accepted them all and continued to cultivate. No one left. They were all cultivators, and they all had patience. Naturally, they would wait for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow cultivated for 4 days. During these 4 days, Night Sorrow's cultivation base stabilized slightly. He also sealed the multicolored light and the light of virtue in his body. In truth, the only thing that could disappear was the multicolored light that could help increase his cultivation base. After the light of virtue entered Night Sorrow's body, it directly merged with the light of virtue outside his spirit sea. It stayed very stable in Night Sorrow's body. Standing up, Night Sorrow stretched his neck and waist. Only then did he walk over to Long, Xiansheng, and the others. "Congratulations, Commander." Long, Xiansheng, and the others cupped their fists to Night Sorrow. "Thank you, seniors, for guarding this place for me." Night Sorrow also cupped his fists in return. After 10,000 years, a sage king has appeared in our 9 regions world once more. Furthermore, he's the ruler of the 9 regions world. "We'll have some confidence in dealing with the 10,000-year calamity," said Long Xiansheng. "It really wasn't easy." Heavenly Underworld Saint was also full of smiles. Night Sorrow nodded to his parents and 3 fiancés who were worried about him. At the start, he didn't say anything because he was afraid that they would be worried. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. After returning to Sky City, Yuyo arranged for people to hold a banquet. Such a big matter naturally had to be celebrated with wine. 3 days later, the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries world learned that Night Sorrow had become a sage king. Night Sorrow didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but everyone thought that it was a good thing to inspire people and announce it to the world. The birth of a holy king was already a legend. In the past 10,000 years, no holy king had been born. One could only imagine what kind of concept a holy king was. The main reason was because Night Sorrow was still young. If not for the acceleration of the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow would only be in his 30s. Even with the acceleration of the space-time pagoda, he would only be in his 40s. This was a very tender age in the world of cultivation. After resting with his family for a few days, Night Sorrow went into retreat to consolidate his cultivation. Having just broken through to the Saint King realm, Night Sorrow's cultivation was still quite unstable. Forever and ever a free #look. All this while, I thought that if I want to return to my original state, I would have to be able to calm down and stabilize myself. But in the end, I still took the wrong path. Long Xiansheng, who was drinking tea together with Xian Wenxiu, said, "The commander has lived the life of an ordinary person for 7 years and has reached the state of returning to his original state. We should also give it a try. Let's walk around and see the world. Maybe we can gain something from it." Xian Wenxiu said, "Actually, the best way is to go to the Saint Hall to accompany those children. Are you guys going?" Long Xiansheng looked at Xian Wenxiu, Heavenly Underworld Saint, and Shang Luo. In the end, the 4 peak saints decided to move. Cultivating in seclusion wasn't enough. They had to find the right path. Night Sorrow went to cultivate. Those who were approved by Night Sorrow also entered the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Night Sorrow cultivated in the space-time pagoda for 7 days in the real world before coming out. After cultivating in the space-time pagoda for 2 months, his cultivation was already very stable. Furthermore, he had just broken through, so it wasn't suitable for him to raise his cultivation too quickly. As for the 9 Dark King, Night Sorrow wasn't worried at all. As long as the 9 Dark King hadn't entered the intermediate Saint King realm, he could fight and even kill him. The 9 Dark King had only entered the Saint King realm for 7 years. It would be difficult for him to even advance 1 level because the Saint King realm required too much energy. 7 years was nothing. Night Sorrow walked around the 9 regions world again. When he arrived at the Night Moon City, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and bought some good wine and tea before going to Bayou City. The last time he saw his grandfather's family, it was when they went to Sky City. It wasn't appropriate for him to not visit them even once. When he arrived at Bayou City's City Lord Mansion, Night Sorrow was warmly welcomed. However, Night Sorrow once again experienced the Yu family style. His grandfather and uncle were two clowns. Fortunately, his grandmother was there. Otherwise, Night Sorrow would have fainted. Then, Night Sorrow went to the Holy Hall. When he arrived at the Holy Hall, Night Sorrow was stunned. He didn't know what was going on. This was because the four peak saints of the two worlds each had a reclining chair. They were all basking in the sun at the edge of the Holy Hall's martial arts practice field. Night Sorrow was very happy about this situation. With a few people here, the level of guidance for the children would be higher and they would avoid taking many detours. After staying in the Holy Hall for 2 days, Night Sorrow went to Medicine Valley again. At this time, the Medicine Valley was completely different from more than 10 years ago. The major sects couldn't shake its position as the #1 sect in the Eastern Xin domain. The Medicine Valley had enough resources, and a few people had entered the Venerable Realm. Yin Bei, Duan Lei, Gong Xian, and Yi Xiling had all entered the Venerable Realm. Apart from Night Sorrow, the Medicine Valley already had 7 Venerables. In addition, after entering the Venerable Realm, the Medicine Valley had Dragon Spirit Pills, so the Venerable Realm's cultivation would increase very quickly. Yu Yang Yu, Hua Yunpeng, and the Great Elder had all entered the mid-level Venerable Realm. Yu Yang Yu had even reached the peak level 5 Venerable Realm. After leaving some Spirit Stones and Dragon Spirit Pill for the Medicine Valley, Night Sorrow left the Medicine Valley and went to the Supreme River Space. Then, he was teleported to the spatial passage of the Nether Realm. After passing through the 1,000 Derivation Killing Formation, Night Sorrow entered the Nether Realm. After checking that the 1,000 Derivation Illusionary Formation and the 1,000 Derivation Killing Formation were fine, Night Sorrow continued to fly forward. This time, Night Sorrow flew along the spatial barrier of the Nether Realm. His goal was to find Spirit Stones. Because in the past 7 years, the Space-Time Pagoda had consumed a lot of energy. He had already used half of the top-grade Spirit Stones that he had filled. Night Sorrow flew along the spatial barrier of the Nether Realm. When he saw Spirit Stones, he directly dug them out without holding back. The Spirit Stones that were close to the spatial barrier did not affect the spatial world. Even if they did, Night Sorrow would dig them out without hesitation. Night Sorrow used close to 3 months to dig out all the Spirit Stones that were close to the spatial barrier of the Nether Realm. He had dug out more than 5,000 top-grade Spirit Stones. This number was astronomical because top-grade Spirit Stones were too rare in the market. As for the top-grade Spirit Stones, Night Sorrow had put them in a few storage rings and did not count them. When Night Sorrow's original body was digging out Spirit Stones, his doppelganger was still monitoring the entrance of the Nether Abyss. As long as the 9 Dark King appeared, Night Sorrow's original body would go over. However, Night Sorrow felt that if the 9 Dark King did not have the strength to protect himself, he would not come out easily. People who had cultivated for countless years had amazing endurance. After that, Night Sorrow returned to the Supreme River Space and directly teleported to the bottom of Supreme Sky City. Night Sorrow checked the stability of the array. Supreme Sky City and the Heaven-Sealing Great Hall were the core of the 9 Domains world. Nothing could happen to them. In addition, 7 years had passed, but Night Sorrow did not bring anyone into the Heaven-Sealing Great Hall to get title. This was because the repaired regions of the 9 Domains world were stabilizing. The 9 Domains origin energy was fusing and the laws were becoming complete. The 9 Domains origin energy could not be consumed. Speak. Chapter 9:35. Night Sorrow did not mention anything about the title, so no one asked. If it was suitable, Night Sorrow would say it. If Night Sorrow did not say it, it was not suitable. It still needs some time before the Heaven-Sealing Hall can open naturally without any consumption. However, it still needs time to perfect the laws. The 9 regions' origin energy communicated with Night Sorrow. Can you estimate how long the massacre will last? How much time can you give us? Night Sorrow asked. Less than 100 years, the Nine Regions Origin Energy said to Night Sorrow. How much can the laws of the Nine Regions world be perfected in 100 years? Night Sorrow asked the question he was most concerned about. It's hard to say. It's a conservative estimate. If you double the time acceleration, you'll need around 1 top-grade spirit stone per day in the outside world. That's equivalent to 100 high-grade spirit stones. If you cultivate for a long time, will you be able to endure it? Shao Kong asked Night Sorrow. I'll endure it first. If I can't endure it, then we'll talk about it. I really need time, Night Sorrow said. Then, Night Sorrow took out the high-grade spirit stones he had stored in the Nether Realm. There were close to 20,000 high-grade spirit stones. So many. Shao Kong looked at the high-grade spirit stones on the ground and said in surprise, I dug them out in the Nether Realm. You can use them first. If it's not enough, I'll add more top-grade spirit stones. Night Sorrow did not care about the consumption of spirit stones. The Nine Regions Origin Energy said that it would take 100 years, but cultivators needed a long time to consolidate their cultivation. In fact, Night Sorrow only had a portion of the time to cultivate. 10 times the time acceleration was not enough for Night Sorrow, so he had to speed it up. Shao Kong did everything according to Night Sorrow's plan. After sitting down cross-legged in the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow thought about the advancement of the Myriad Tao scripture. Cultivating the Myriad Tao scripture was a body-tempering cultivation. There was no such thing as a true energy core or a core soul. To enter the Saint King realm, he needed to evolve his divine core into a divine soul. After 7 years of cultivation, Night Sorrow's soul power had become very strong. He was now fully capable of taking this step. After cultivating for a month, he felt that the time was right. Not wanting to disturb the Night Sorrow, he left the space-time pagoda and the city in the sky. He entered the wilderness outside the city in the sky and set up 1,000 derivation illusory array before entering seclusion to break through. With the experience of true chi breakthrough, Night Sorrow's breakthrough this time was very easy. The following lightning tribulation did not bring him any danger because he had Saint King level true chi, so he could use his true chi cultivation to resist the lightning tribulation. After stabilizing his cultivation base for 2 days, Night Sorrow returned to Sky City. Next, he entered the space-time pagoda to begin cultivating. No one knew that Night Sorrow had made another breakthrough. Now, everyone was nervously cultivating. Night Sorrow cultivated for 10 years. More than half a year had passed in the real world. His cultivation base had risen to the late 1-star Saint King realm. However, he had used up all his high-grade spirit stones. Night Sorrow came out of seclusion. First, he wanted to relax and ease his mind. Second, he wanted to spend some time with his parents and wife. Night Sorrow also chased everyone out of the space-time pagoda. He did not want to see any instability in his cultivation base. Everything in the Nine Regions world was developing normally. Night Sorrow tried to use the spatial crack to break through space. He found that the difficulty had increased. In other words, the spatial barrier was increasing. After resting for a while and spending some time with his family, Night Sorrow decided to consolidate his cultivation base. He thought of a way to consolidate his cultivation base. That was to break through the spatial barrier and rush out of the Nine Regions world. He would use the high-intensity spatial turbulence to temper his cultivation base. This was also a hint that the Nine Regions Origin Energy had given him. Night Sorrow wanted to consolidate his cultivation base. So did everyone else. The city in the sky became lively. Everyone chatted and drank tea together. Wu Lingfei also returned from the East Snow Mountain. She had broken through and become a 7-star saint. She was already a high-level saint. After leaving the city in the sky, Night Sorrow went to Haotian City. He entered the bottom of Haotian Mountain and broke through the spatial barrier of the Nine Regions world. Then, he entered the spatial turbulence outside the Nine Regions world. At this time, Night Sorrow had a true understanding of the spatial turbulence. When one tore through space in the Nine Regions world, one would enter the spatial turbulence inside the Nine Regions world. The spatial turbulence was average. However, The spatial turbulence outside the Nine Regions world was terrifying. It could be said that it was a spatial turbulence storm that could crush everything. It was a storm that fused together with all the elemental laws. It could annihilate everything. Night Sorrow was only a few dozen feet away from the Nine Regions world to hone his cultivation base. If he went further, he would not be cultivating. He would be courting death. When his vital chi and the energy of the Myriad Tao Tome were exhausted, Night Sorrow would return to the Nine Regions world. Then, he would enter the space-time pagoda to accelerate time to recover his cultivation base. Then, he would enter the spatial turbulence again to hone his cultivation base. Night Sorrow's cultivation method was the most time-saving. In other words, he did not waste much time on recovery. What he wasted was entering the spatial turbulence to hone his cultivation base. After cultivating day and night, when he was tired, Night Sorrow would drink tea in the space-time pagoda and sleep. Then, he would enter the spatial turbulence again to hone his cultivation base. This was a kind of persistence. This was a kind of tenacity. It was also a kind of persistence. At the beginning, Night Sorrow felt that it was okay to suffer a little now. He could protect his family and the people around him. He could give stability to the Nine Regions world. The suffering was worth it. After cultivating for nearly half a year, his cultivation base had stabilized. He had even improved a little. When he reached the peak of the one-star Saint King realm, Night Sorrow returned to the city in the sky. This made Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu, who had agreed to go fishing in the lake of the city in the sky, very shocked. Speak. Chapter 9:36. Commander, it's only been a year and a half since you broke through to the Saint King realm. You're already at the peak of one-star Saint King realm. Don't be too impatient. Xian Wenxiu looked at Night Sorrow and said, Time is tight. It's certain that the great massacre of the profound heaven world will happen within 100 years. At that time, there will be Saint Kings descending. If I'm an ordinary cultivator, I can live in seclusion. But I'm a commander. Night Sorrow said. Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu looked at each other and sighed. They felt ashamed because the older generation couldn't shoulder the burden. All the pressure fell on Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, according to your comprehension, Xian Wenxiu and I have a deeper understanding of returning to one's origin. If we have enough time, we will also have a chance to enter the Saint King realm. At that time, even if we can't fight against the leaders, we will still be a force to be reckoned with. Long Xiansheng looked at Night Sorrow and said, Seniors, try to comprehend your realms first. If you break through, then enter the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Although spirit stones are scarce, I will think of a way. Night Sorrow said, If we can really enter the Saint King realm, we will need time. But we will need spirit stones. We will think of a way. Long Xiansheng said. Night Sorrow nodded. The lack of spirit stones was indeed a big problem. Although Night Sorrow's resources were still very abundant, he would need to consume a large amount of resources in the next 100 years. The space-time pagoda's effect was strong, but the consumption was also huge. Night Sorrow rested for 2 days and placed the space-time pagoda beside the lake. He then entered the space-time pagoda to cultivate. As for other people entering the space-time pagoda, Shao Kong had the ability to distinguish who could enter. The days passed peacefully. After cultivating for half a year in the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow entered the 2-star Saint King realm in less than half a month in the real world. It was the same for the Myriad Tao Tome. He used the life spirit liquid to cultivate. At this time, he no longer considered the problem of saving resources. Yishang cultivated steadily. 20 years had passed in the space-time treasure pagoda, which was more than a year in the real world. Yishang chased Xue Shi, who had become a 9-star saint, out of the space-time treasure pagoda so that she could consolidate her cultivation. 9-star saints needed to stabilize their cultivation base and work hard to raise their cultivation base. Xuexi's cultivation had increased by more than half a minor realm, but even though Yishang had cultivated twice as long as Xuexi, his cultivation had only increased by half a minor realm, mainly because the Saint King realm required too much cultivation. However, Night Sorrow did not intend to continue charging forward. After sending everyone out of the space-time pagoda to consolidate their cultivation, Night Sorrow returned to Clear Sky City to consolidate his cultivation. For convenience's sake, Night Sorrow had set up a teleportation formation at the edge of the Realm Sea. It was a private formation protected by the Thousand Derivation Illusory Formation, and only Night Sorrow could use it. Yishang's cultivation base was stabilized in the turbulent flow of space and recovered in the pagoda of time and space. In this state, Yishang's cultivation base increased as he stabilized. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing were talking in their house in Sky City. Little F said, "Wuyo, our son is like this now. It's too heartbreaking. He doesn't have a child." Yu Qing said what was on her mind. "Our son is working hard. Let's not talk about things that will upset him. Let nature take its course," Yi Wuyo said. While Yi Wuyo and Qing Ji were chatting, Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei, and Qing Ji, who had come out to relax, came to the two's residence to pay their respects. Night Sorrow only knows how to cultivate every day. It's been hard on you. He doesn't spend time with you. Yu Qing apologized on behalf of her son. "Mother, it's not like that. When we cultivate in the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow often comes to drink tea with us," I always said. "Is that so? That's not bad. You guys should work hard too. Our Yi family needs to have more children," Yu Qing said. "Maybe it's because Night Sorrow's body is too strong. His future children are very talented. That's why it's not so easy," I always said with a red face. I thought that he would have more children with 3 wives. Now it seems that it's all just a matter of time. Yu Qing sighed. "What are you mumbling about?" "Son, the 3 of them are all high-level venerables with laws. They have long lifespans. It's just a matter of time." Yi Wuyo glanced at his wife. Yu Qing nodded and didn't say anything else. Afterward, Aoi and the others went to Dongxian City to bring Yin Xiao back. Yin Xiao was already a big girl, and her cultivation base had reached the peak of the 4th rank. Her talent was high, and with her abundant resources, her cultivation base naturally rose quickly. "Where's my brother? Don't tell me he's still cultivating?" Yin Xiao looked around and didn't see Night Sorrow after returning to her parents' residence. "Your brother has a lot of responsibilities. There's nothing he can do about it. How has he been in the Sacred Hall recently?" asked Yi Wuyo. "The teachers organized trials for us. I always had the best results. I even went to Medicine Valley's Pill Cauldron Cliff. I also climbed the highest." Yin Xiao waved her hand. "Do it steadily. Don't be too competitive," reminded Yi Wuyo. "I will. Those companions don't have it easy. We're all very close. It's just that Ning Yun who needs to be taught a lesson," said Yin Xiao. "Didn't your brother say that if he wanted to take a disciple, it had to be his kid?" "Not bad," said Yu Qing. "Not bad? What do you mean by that?" "He's always complaining that I don't bring them to Sky City." "I'm so annoyed," said Yin Xiao. "What's wrong with that? You can bring them here." Yu Qing scolded her daughter. "All right then. My brother hasn't been going to the Sacred Hall recently. My companions all miss him," said Yin Xiao. "When we see him again, we'll bring this up. However, your brother is very concerned about time. Time is very important to him," said Sikong Chiyu. After cultivating in the chaotic streams of space for half a year and stabilizing his cultivation base, he reached the late-stage 2nd Star Saint realm. Only then did Night Sorrow return to the city in the sky and place the space-time pagoda by the lake once more. Anyone who wished to enter could enter. When Sikong Chiyu and the others saw Night Sorrow, they suggested going out for a walk. "Let's go to the eastern Xian region. I'll go see the children of the Sacred Hall and pay my respects to Master," said Night Sorrow. Seeing Night Sorrow arrive, the children of the Sacred Hall all cheered. In truth, they couldn't really be considered children. They were all teenagers. Night Sorrow waved his hand and led the children of the Sacred Hall to the restaurants in Dongxian City. This was the happiest moment for the children of the Sacred Hall. It was also the happiest moment for the commoners of Dongxian City. Being able to see their commander and the happy children was a kind of satisfaction and happiness. Just as Night Sorrow was about to go to the Medicine Valley, his expression changed. That was because his clone outside the Netherworld Abyss had discovered the 9 Underworld King's figure. "Speak." Chapter 9:37. Wait for me in the Sacred Hall. Night Sorrow said to Sikong Chuyu, Yonglei, and Aoi. He directly went to the teleportation formation and started the teleportation. What's going on? Yin Yin asked with a smile. She was following beside Night Sorrow and Sikong Chuyu. Something might have happened, but don't worry. Right now, there's no one who can threaten your brother's safety. Aoi said to Yin Yin with a smile. After teleporting to the entrance of the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow hurried towards the nether abyss. The 9 underworld monarch flew towards the nearest city after leaving the nether abyss. She needed to cultivate as well as live. Recently, she had been lacking in resources, so she needed to make up for it. Night Sorrow's soul clone followed behind. It had to be said that the 9 underworld monarch's cultivation had risen very quickly. She had already become a 2-star holy king. The main reason was because she had been stuck at a bottleneck in the past. She had accumulated a lot of experience, just like how Wu Lingfei had quickly become a 2-star holy king. If she was a 1-star holy king, Night Sorrow's clone would have killed her. But she was a 2-star holy king. Night Sorrow had to be careful. If she ran back to the nether abyss, then his plan to kill her would fail. After all, there was a difference between the main body and the clone. In addition, Night Sorrow had to make sure nothing went wrong. When the 9 underworld monarch got some daily necessities from the nearest city and hurried towards the nether abyss, Night Sorrow's main body met up with his clone. Night Sorrow's main body flickered and blocked the 9 underworld monarch's path with his reincarnation spear. His soul clone stood to the side. When his cultivation was not as high as the 9 underworld monarchs, Night Sorrow dared to fight. Now that his cultivation had surpassed the 9 underworld monarchs, he did not need to use his clone. Late 2-star holy king? Impossible. The 9 underworld monarch was astonished when she saw Night Sorrow's cultivation. She could not believe her eyes. Nothing is impossible. Back then, I was able to fight you even before I reached the Saint King realm. Now that I am a 2-star Saint King, you are even less of a match for me, Night Sorrow said. You really won't go away. Is it not enough that we won the war? Do you want to kill us all? Hades 9 waved the scimitar in his hand. I'm not trying to kill all of you. I'm not a murderous person. I just want to solve the problem between the 2 worlds once and for all, and you're the only stumbling block, Night Sorrow said. You're still a bloodthirsty person. Don't you know how many nether realm beings you've killed? The 9 Abyss King roared. Our 9-domain world has records that the nether realm has attacked the 9-domain world more than once or twice. This time, it was you who sent the nether beasts into the 9-domain world first. It was you who wanted to keep attacking, so I have to end this once and for all. Night Sorrow looked at 9 Hades King and said, Then let's fight. If you can kill this king, no one will be able to stop you. The 9 Abyss King's golden skirt trembled, and energy gathered on the scimitar in her hand. I don't have to kill you. Just submit. As long as you submit, you'll still be the king of the 9-domain world, said Night Sorrow after thinking for a moment. Impossible. This king would rather die in battle. This king can't bow. 9 Abyss King charged at Night Sorrow. His scimitar was covered in black and red flames. That was the fusion of death energy and the peak of fire energy. You still have value. Your value is that you can lead the nether realm. If you don't submit, then once I'm done with you, I'll slaughter all the nether realm and unify the nether realm. Night Sorrow waved his spear, forcing 9 Abyss King back. 9 Abyss King discovered that the gap between her and Night Sorrow was very big. Night Sorrow had easily forced her back with a single spear strike. She wanted both of them to suffer, but it was impossible for her to take him down with her. Why official V edition first release, War is War. Is there a need to exterminate a race? 9 Abyss King roared angrily. She continued to attack. She was very angry. Although she wasn't afraid of death, she didn't want to see the nether race being exterminated. If I can't rule, then I can only exterminate. I'm the 9-domain world's commander. I must think for the 9-domain world. I'll kill anyone who threatens the 9-domain world. Night Sorrow's body flashed as he spear after spear, forcing 9 Abyss King back. 9 Abyss King's internal organs were shaken, and a dark red color appeared at the corner of her mouth. Knight Sorrow's true chi cultivation was already higher than 9 Abyss King's. In addition, his 10,000 Paths treasured book cultivation was also at the late stage of the 2-star Sage realm. This wasn't a 1+1 comparison. He could completely crush 9 Abyss King. In addition, Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear also had an attack amplification effect. 9 Abyss King had no chance of resisting. 9 Abyss King didn't say anything after being pointed out by Knight Sorrow. She just continued to attack Knight Sorrow with her blade. Knight Sorrow didn't directly use his killing move because he felt that 9 Abyss King still had some value. It would be best if she could submit. Whether it was to rule the Nether Realm or in terms of battle strength, she would be a great help. 9 Abyss King's true chi was unstable from the continuous attacks. Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear vibrated and knocked away 9 Abyss King's scimitar. He then whipped 9 Abyss King's shoulder and broke her collarbone. 9 Abyss King was forced to kneel on the ground. Don't kill yourself yet. Let me finish speaking first. You can choose for yourself. Knight Sorrow's reincarnation spear pressed down on 9 Abyss King's shoulder as she looked at him, who was about to self-destruct. Speak. 9 Abyss King glared hatefully at Knight Sorrow. If you submit, the Nether Realm will still be ruled by you. All you need to do is obey orders. The Nether race and other races can still exist. Aside from obeying orders, there is nothing else. If you self-destruct, then the Nether Realm, which has almost no saints, is meaningless to the 9 regions world. We can only slaughter everyone and take the territory, Knight Sorrow said. Why should I believe you? 9 Abyss King's eyes were still cold. How about this? I'll give you a chance. A few years ago, the 9 regions world had a realm war with the Profound Mysteries realm. Do you want to know the current situation of the cultivators in the Profound Mysteries realm? Swear on your world's origin that you will wait for me at the spatial passage in 3 months. I'll let you go to the Profound Mysteries realm and take a look. Also, you are not allowed to harm anything in the Profound Mysteries realm, Knight Sorrow said. 9 Abyss King forcibly endured Knight Sorrow's spear and stood up. Then, he swore on his world's origin that he would wait for Knight Sorrow at the spatial passage in 3 months. Looking at 9 Abyss King, Knight Sorrow brought him through the spatial passage and sent him to the Profound Mysteries realm. Then, he returned to the Eastern Xian region. His 3 wives were still waiting for him. When Knight Sorrow arrived at the Sacred Hall, Sikong Chiyu and the others were anxiously waiting for him. Did something happen? Yanglei walked over to Knight Sorrow and examined him. Knight Sorrow's robes were stained with blood. When Knight Sorrow had fought 9 Abyss King, he hadn't used a protective barrier. So when 9 Abyss King's collarbone had been broken, the blood had splashed onto Knight Sorrow's body. Nothing happened. I just saw 9 Abyss King, so I took care of it, said Knight Sorrow. Speak. Chapter 10. Chapter 9:38. Underworld Monarch 9 Did you go and fight him? What happened? Yang Lei asked anxiously. She needs 3 months to choose whether to submit or die. I sent her to the Profound Mysteries realm to take a look. Knight Sorrow explained what had happened in detail. It's a good thing that she's here, but she's the leader of a realm and a Saint King. You have to be careful. She might try to play tricks on you. Sikong Chiyu reminded Knight Sorrow. I've thought about it. There won't be any problems. Besides, the Profound Sky World's calamity is coming. It's good for us to have another Saint King to help us. It's rare to have such an expert. Knight Sorrow explained why he hadn't killed 9 Pluto directly. 9 Pluto was far stronger than a peak saint. Knight Sorrow felt that if she was given time, she could still improve a lot. She could play a big role in the calamity. Sikong Chiyu and the other 2 nodded. They knew that Knight Sorrow's decision was right. Besides, 9 Pluto's existence was very important to the Netherrealm's rule. Let's not talk about this for now. We'll tell the others when there's a result. Knight Sorrow told the 3 girls. Knight Sorrow went to the Medicine Valley to visit his master. After seeing his senior brother who was guarding the Medicine Valley, he returned to the city in the sky. He told Night Sorrow that he had something to do in 3 months and called for him at the time and Space Pagoda 2 days in advance. Night Sorrow entered the Time and Space Pagoda and began to cultivate. The days of cultivation were boring, but Night Sorrow was still in high spirits because he could feel his cultivation increasing. Night Sorrow used a year to raise his cultivation to the peak of the 2-star Saint realm. The Myriad Dao treasured tome also followed at the same time. Night Sorrow stayed with the girls on the 61st floor of the Time and Space Pagoda for a few days before returning to the Time and Space Pagoda. He then raised his cultivation to the 3-star Saint King realm and stabilized it. After stabilizing his cultivation base, Night Sorrow continued to increase his cultivation base. Because his cultivation base had been very stable in the chaotic streams of space, there were no drawbacks. This cultivation lasted for 1.5 years. Yiling Lan had a shout from outside the space-time treasure pagoda. Only then did Yiling Lan come out of seclusion on Night Sorrow. He knew that it was time to meet the 9 underworld monarch. After that, Night Sorrow packed up and rushed towards the Netherworld's passageway. At this moment, the 9 dark monarch was meditating outside the 1,000 derivation killing array. She was feeling very complicated. She hoped that Night Sorrow would forget the time, and then her vow would be invalid. If the vow was invalid, she could leave and find a place to hide. In fact, there was one thing that 9 Dark King did not know. With the array, she could not return to the Nether realm, and she could not hide in the Supreme River space. At the same time, she could not enter the 9-domain world or the Profound Mysteries realm. Even if she did enter, it would be useless. They were Night Sorrow's territory, and she had nowhere to hide. As the ruler of the 9-domain world, Night Sorrow's control over the 9-domain world and its affiliated space was extremely strong. It would be easy for him to find the 9 Dark King. In addition, the 9 Dark King saw that the Profound Mysteries realm was very stable. Everything was fine. It did not look like a world that had been defeated. She also clearly knew that the Profound Mysteries realm had been beaten to a pulp back then. In this situation, the 9 Dark King was in a dilemma. She had her pride and dignity, and she did not want to submit. If she did not submit, then she knew that Night Sorrow would definitely carry out a massacre in the Nether realm. This was not something she wanted to see. She did not want to become a sinner. Just as the 9 Dark King was thinking, the white-robed Night Sorrow passed through the 1,000 derivation killing array and walked out of the spatial passageway. Night Sorrow was directly teleported to the spatial passageway, while the 9 Dark King flew over from the Medicine Valley. The meditating 9 Dark King stood up. When she saw that Night Sorrow was a 3-star holy king, her eyes were filled with disbelief. It had only been 3 months since they last saw each other, and Night Sorrow's cultivation had increased again. Night Sorrow took out a jar of wine and threw it to the 9 Dark King. He opened his own jar and took a sip. Free of charge. Look at little Y. Say Z. I don't dare to drink. If you don't submit, then this wine is a farewell wine. If you submit, then it will be a celebratory wine. Night Sorrow looked at the hesitant 9 Dark King and said, after sizing up Night Sorrow, the 9 Dark King opened the jar and drank 2 mouthfuls of wine. War brings destruction and pain. This is unavoidable. The only thing that can be avoided is to not have war. Your submission is actually a blessing for the Nether realm. It is also atonement for you, because the current state of the Nether realm was caused by the wrong decision of the Nether realm. You have the responsibility to rebuild the Nether realm and restore it, Night Sorrow said. Then isn't that the same as being enslaved by the 9-domain world, said the 9 Dark King coldly. Think before you say that. Why would I want you to go to the Profound Mysteries realm? Don't you know that the 9-domain world has enslaved the Profound Mysteries realm and taken away what they have? The reason I want you to submit is to avoid future war. What are you thinking? Night Sorrow's aura fluctuated. He was losing his patience. This king's submission means the Nether realm submission. How much can you do? Asked the 9 Dark King to Night Sorrow. The Nether Realm will still be under your rule. But when I need to fight, the Nether Realm will have to cooperate unconditionally. You can't have the slightest thought of harming the 9-domain world, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't really have any thoughts of conquering the Nether Realm. That was because the Nether Realm situation wasn't suitable for the 9-domain world's people to rule and develop. If the Nether Realm could submit and become a subsidiary world, that would be enough for Night Sorrow. The 9 Dark Kings sank in a deep thought. Night Sorrow's conditions weren't too harsh. Between her own death, the slaughter of the Nether Realm, and the submission of the Nether Realm, she knew which was more important. She just wasn't willing to submit. The Nether Realm can submit under my command, but I'll be the only one fighting for you. I can't lead the other Nether Realm people to their deaths. The Nether Realm no longer has any high-level cultivators. If we fight again, it'll be no different from the extermination of our race, said the 9 Dark King after a moment of hesitation. Night Sorrow thought for a moment, then swear a heavenly Tao oath. I, 9 Dark King Zhu Jiyun, will submit to Night Sorrow from today onwards. I will listen to Night Sorrow's orders and lead the Nether Realm to not harm the 9-domain world. The 9 Dark King, or Zhu Jiyun, swore a heavenly Tao oath. It was similar to Night Sorrow's request. The only difference was that on the basis of not harming the 9-domain world, she would personally submit to Night Sorrow. Since you're so careful, I won't bicker with you. How long will it take for you to reorganize the Nether Realm? Asked Night Sorrow. I'll arrange for people to deal with it. I still need to cultivate. It will take some time for the soul avatar to be born. Once the avatar is born, the main body will be at your disposal. Remember your promise to not harm the Nether Realm, said the 9 Dark King. I'll give you 10 years. After 10 years, crush my messaging crystal. I'll send you back to the Nether Realm right now. After saying that, Night Sorrow waved his sleeve and brought the 9 Dark King into the Nether Realm. He then brought the 9 Dark King through the Great Array. All right, I, Zhu Jiyun, admit defeat. I'll follow the heavenly Tao oath. After saying that, Zhu Jiyun left the spatial passage. Night Sorrow was very happy. This could be considered as solving a big problem. Speak. Chapter 939. Night Sorrow went to the Saint Hall and called Long Xiansheng, the 4 Peak Saints, as well as Tai Shu Yin, Lu Qin, and Jun Xuanji. He then told them about how he had dealt with the 9 Dark King. Very good. That means the Nether Realm won't be a hidden danger, Long Xiansheng said. It's good for now, but there are still some drawbacks. I'll take a look at it later. Night Sorrow felt that he had to control the Nether Realm saints, so he had to communicate with the 9 Dark King later. You can deal with it as you see fit. Only you can subdue the 9 Dark King. No one else can. Long Xiansheng nodded. Night Sorrow left the eastern Xian region and returned to the city in the sky to cultivate in seclusion. What he needed now was time to increase his cultivation. The 9 regions' origins had told Yishang that the 3 great Saint Kings had all been high-level Saint Kings back then. Even so, they had still lost. Although Yishang was now the ruler of the 9 regions world, his cultivation level had to be raised to a high-level Saint King, or perhaps a peak Saint King, to have a greater chance. Only then would he be able to crush the cultivators of the profound sky world who entered the 9 regions world. Night Sorrow was also working towards this goal. The stronger he was, the more confident he would be. Time passed slowly. Night Sorrow's cultivation increased rapidly, but it was not weak at all. Every time he increased his cultivation, Night Sorrow would go to Clear Sky City, pass through the spatial barrier, and enter the deep spatial turbulence to cultivate. Every time he came, Night Sorrow would bring the space-time pagoda with him so that the people inside could continue to cultivate, and he would not delay his recovery. 5 years had passed in the real world, and Night Sorrow had cultivated for more than 60 years. Normally, with the space-time pagoda's 20x time acceleration, Night Sorrow could cultivate for 100 years. However, almost half of the time was used by Night Sorrow to stabilize his cultivation. After sensing his cultivation that had just broken through to 5-star Holy King, Yishang stopped fighting and continued to charge forward. He needed to calm his state of mind. All these years, he had been paying attention to stabilizing his cultivation and making it solid. However, being in a state of high tension all the time was not suitable for his state of mind. After coming out of seclusion, Night Sorrow also brought out everyone from the space-time pagoda. Looking at the group of people who were full of energy, Night Sorrow was very satisfied. Xuexu was a 9-star saint. Wu Lingfei was also a star saint. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing were also middle-level saints. Saints improved their cultivation quickly mainly because they could enjoy the acceleration of time in the space-time pagoda after entering the saint stage. Tai Shuyan and Jun Xuanji's cultivation improved rapidly as well. The two of them were slightly slower than Night Sorrow's parents, but they were also 3-star saints. Yiling Huan was also a middle-level saint, and his cultivation was slightly higher than Yi Wuyo and his wife. Other than Ma Zhuang, Tang Tian, and Chu Ning, the rest of the god-slaying team's cultivation improved rapidly as well. After all, they could not use the Dragon Spirit Pill before entering the saint stage. However, Ma Zhuang and the other two were also at the peak of the 5th stage. As for the Dragon Spirit Pill, Night Sorrow had refined some using the blood of the 4-clawed silver dragon. Therefore, he still had a lot of Dragon Spirit Pills in reserve. We've been cultivating intensely for a while. Everyone needs to rest. God-slaying team, go take a walk in the Holy Hall and guide the students there. Yishan looked at Liang Yu, Yun Huang, and the others, who were already high-level venerables, and said, "Okay, then we'll take a walk." Xueling nodded. "You're not allowed to come back for 2 years. You have to stabilize your cultivation and stabilize your mental states," Night Sorrow said to the group of people again. The members of the God-slaying team bowed to Night Sorrow and left. However, Night Sorrow's 3 fiancés stayed behind. The family needed to gather. They don't need that long to stabilize their cultivation, right? Jun Xuanji asked. They don't have the opportunity to come into contact with the laws at the moment, so they should stabilize their cultivation properly. Otherwise, if they rush to improve their cultivation, they will still be stuck at the bottleneck. Therefore, there's not much point in quickly improving their cultivation. Night Sorrow explained a reason for his arrangement. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Night Sorrow's arrangement was very reasonable. Night Sorrow brought the rest of the people back to the mansion. Then, the group of women went to prepare food and wine. "Son, what's your cultivation now?" Yi Wuyo asked. Yiling Huan also looked at Night Sorrow. No one could see Night Sorrow's cultivation clearly, so they were very curious. "I just became a 5-star Saint King. I need to stabilize my cultivation," Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. 5-star Saint King is so fast. It's only been a few years, Yiling Huan sighed. Even if you face the great massacre of 10,000 years ago, you still have the confidence, Yi Wuyo said with a smile. It's not enough. Back then, the 3 Saint Kings were high-level Saint Kings, but they couldn't withstand the enemy's attacks. Although I'm the Lord of the 9 regions world, I still have the confidence to have a higher cultivation, Night Sorrow said. Above, don't be anxious. You've only been cultivating for a short period of time. There's enough time. Yiling Huan looked at Night Sorrow and expressed his opinion. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded. Actually, he felt that there was enough time. 100 years was only about 10 years now. This was also the reason why he came out to relax. Everyone ate happily during the banquet. Night Sorrow was also very happy. Then, he took his 3 wives to the lake. Night Sorrow lay on the deck chair on the wooden boat and looked at the clouds in the sky. Are you a little tired? Sikong Chiyu came to Night Sorrow's side and massaged Night Sorrow's shoulders. A little. I've been a little nervous during these few years of cultivation. I need to relax a little, Night Sorrow said as he grabbed Sikong Chiyu's hand. Come, the tea is ready, Aoi called out. Drinking tea and chatting was Night Sorrow's most comfortable time. After resting for 2 days, we'll go to the Holy Hall. Now that the heaven-sealing Great Hall can open, anyone who wants to get a title can go. I forgot to tell everyone today, Night Sorrow said after drinking a cup of tea. Then we'll go after resting for 2 days. Are you going to get a Holy King title? Yanglei looked at Night Sorrow and asked, "Yes, but I still need to stabilize my cultivation. There's no rush. I don't want to fail," Night Sorrow said with a smile. They sailed the boat on the lake and went with the flow. After resting for 2 days, Yishang brought his 3 wives and Shui Shi to the Saint Hall. At this time, the Holy Hall was very lively. Many people from the commander's residence were here, including Long Xiansheng and the other peak saints. "Commander, you're here." Seeing Yishang, everyone greeted him. Ever since Night Sorrow had taken control of the Nine Regions world, the Nine Regions world had entered a period of rapid development. So no matter who it was, they were all very respectful to Night Sorrow. "Senior Long Xiansheng, Senior Xianwenxiu, your realms are about the same." Night Sorrow was a bit surprised to see the two of them. "Relax. Relax, relax. We also need a breakthrough. We can't let you shoulder everything alone. We can't even see through your current cultivation base. At the very least, you're a 4-star holy king. You're really too fast. Perhaps that's why you're an eternal genius. Or perhaps you're blessed by karmic luck," said Long Xiansheng emotionally. Sikong Chuyu said. Chapter 940. There's no other way. We lack time now. If I don't work hard, we won't be able to survive the next 10,000 years of slaughter, said Night Sorrow. Everyone nodded. Capable people had more work to do. Yishang was now the strongest person in the 9-domain world camp, so the pressure was on him. Then Night Sorrow talked about the certification and asked Taishu Yin to organize it. Then Night Sorrow brought everyone along. Taishu Yin nodded and went to arrange for people to come. Of course, the main priority was the people from the Commander-in-Chief's residence. She also notified the Venerable from the Medicine Valley. Night Sorrow stayed in the Saint Hall and accompanied a group of Saint Hall children to practice their spear techniques. In fact, the first batch of Saint Hall members had all become youths. Their cultivations had all reached the 4th rank, and some had already reached the 5th rank. However, the hundreds of new members were still very young. Cultivating with Night Sorrow was the happiest day for the Saint Hall members. In their eyes, Night Sorrow was their parent, their most respected uncle and elder. After practicing his spear art for a while, Yishang led the Templars' men to the tavern in Dongxian City. After eating and drinking with a group of young men and young ladies, he brought his 3 wives and Shui Shi to Qingxin Cottage. Seeing Night Sorrow return, Ning Qingfeng and his wife were very happy. At this time, Night Sorrow was the supreme figure of the Nine Regions world. It was not easy to see him, let alone live under the same roof. After relaxing for 2 days, Night Sorrow gathered the people who were going to be certified and teleported to Vasi City. Night Sorrow took out a flying ship and brought a group of people to Vast Sky City. Through the 1000 derivation Grand Array and the Nine Regions barrier, they arrived in front of the Heaven Sealing Hall. He didn't use a teleportation formation because he didn't want others to casually enter the Heaven Sealing Hall. That was an unstable factor. The title Battle Pet Warrior certification only has a chance of passing. It's very difficult, so don't worry about whether you can pass or not. "Now, let's go in," Night Sorrow said to the dozens of people who had come to participate in the certification. He didn't want those who failed to feel sad. Following which, a group of people entered the Heaven Sealing Great Hall one after another. Night Sorrow took out a jar of wine and drank by himself as he waited. Night Sorrow did not have high hopes for the brothers of the God-Slaying Squad who had come. This was because the God-Slaying Squad was strong in group battles. Their individual combat strength could only be considered outstanding, but not outstanding. It would be too difficult for them to obtain a title. He did not object because he did not want to crush the confidence of his brothers. However, he still had high hopes for Guan Yi and Qinjia. Both of them had high attributes, and they valued combat, so they had a high chance of winning. 2 hours later, people came out one after another. Just as Night Sorrow had estimated, less than half of the dozens of people who came this time had passed. Only a third had passed. Many of them had suffered a blow, but there was nothing that could be done about it. Night Sorrow led everyone back to the Sacred Hall. Night Sorrow calmed his mind. He stayed in the Sacred Hall to guide the child's cultivation. Yin Yin Xiao, Ning Yun, and July were all very close to Night Sorrow. If they had any requests, Night Sorrow would satisfy them. Night Sorrow also frequently went to see Yi Xinyue and the child. When Night Sorrow visited again, the child looked seriously at Night Sorrow. I remember some things. You remember everything? Night Sorrow asked. Yes, I remember now. My surname is Yi, and I'm Yi Qianhua. I'll tell my family later. My surname won't change. Of course, they're also my parents, Yi Qianhua said, his eyes filled with memories. Then I'll leave it to you. If you need me to do anything, just let me know, Night Sorrow said. Yes, after I finish talking with them, I'll go to the Sea of Night Moon. Can you send me there? Yi Qianhua looked at Night Sorrow. All right, I'll stay in the Sacred Hall during this time. Night Sorrow nodded. As for how Yi Qianhua would talk with his parents, Night Sorrow didn't care. He believed that things would have a happy ending. Night Sorrow and his 3 wives stayed in the Sacred Hall during the day and returned to the Pure Heart Courtyard at night. Shueshi was also with them. Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 women were pulling her along. The relationship between the 4 women was very good. They also understood that Night Sorrow and she just didn't have a title. They were no different from a real couple. 2 days later, Yi Qianhua found Night Sorrow. Is it done? Night Sorrow asked. It's done. They're my parents, there's no doubt about that. But I'm Yi Qianhua. They can understand, Yi Qianhua said. This is your weapon. Night Sorrow took out Yi Qianhua's sword from his previous life and handed it over. It was the only authentic version. Everything else was a pirated version. I don't need it now. Take it. Yi Qianhua didn't take it. I use spears. You've used this sword for a long time. It's convenient for you to use. Night Sorrow didn't take back his arm. After looking at Night Sorrow for a while, Yi Qianhua put away the sword. Old ancestor, I'll send you back to the Sea of Night Moon later. Yi Xinyue, who had been silent, said, Don't call me old ancestor. That was in the past. Just treat me as an ordinary Night Moon. Yi Qianhua shook his head. Then, Night Sorrow took out a storage ring, filled it with some spirit stones, and handed it to Yi Qianhua. Then, he sent Yi Qianhua and Yi Xinyue to the transmission array before returning to the Holy Church. Night Sorrow knew that with the understanding, state of mind, and experience of several lifetimes, Yi Qianhua would grow very quickly. All he needed was time. With enough time, he would become a peak holy king. Moreover, Night Sorrow felt that the rules of the 9 Zones world were complete now. It was no longer the era where Yi Qianhua's 9 Zones world was not even considered a high-level world. Yi Qianhua had the opportunity to improve further. After sending Yi Qianhua away, Night Sorrow went to Chun Shen's tea house. At this time, he was somewhat apologetic. Seeing Chun Shen come over, Night Sorrow cupped his hands to Chun Shen. There's no need to apologize. Chun Shen poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow and said, I originally wanted him to live a better life. I never thought of taking him away, Night Sorrow said. Understand. If you wanted to, you would have done it long ago. In fact, no matter who he is now my child. No one could change this fact. As long as he lives well, I don't care about anything else. Besides, he still recognizes me as his father. Chun Shen nodded to Night Sorrow. I have to say, your state of mind is really good. This is the life spirit liquid. It can change your physique and even repair your dantian. You can walk your own path. Night Sorrow took out more than a dozen drops of the life spirit liquid and handed it to Chun Shen. In your eyes, I have finally cultivated. Chun Shen did not stand on ceremony and directly put away the life spirit liquid. It's still early. There's still time. You can walk your own path. After saying that, Night Sorrow stood up and left the tea house. Looking at Night Sorrow's back, Chun Shen, who was originally very calm, felt a little complicated because he did not know what kind of life was his original path. Chun Shen also knew that as long as he walked the right path, Night Sorrow would only help him in the future, and it would not be the same as before. Speak. Third watch. Chapter 941. What are you thinking about? Qianhua's surname is Night, but he's also our child. Don't think too much. Chun Shen's wife came to his side. I understand. Do you know that the commander once called me brother and chose a path full of light for me, but I destroyed it myself. Chen sighed. Actually, you don't understand. He's been very concerned about us all these years. It's not just because of the child. He still has some special feelings for you. Chen's wife said. Maybe you're right, but Qianhua isn't by my side. I always feel like something is missing. Chen was still a little sad. Well, I'm pregnant again. Chen's wife said in a low voice. Night Sorrow returned to the Saint Hall. He was very happy that Chen had changed. This was good for Yi Qianhua. He would have no regrets in the future. After staying in the Saint Hall for 2 days, Night Sorrow returned to the city in the sky and set up the space-time pagoda by the lake again. This way, people who needed it could enter directly. Night Sorrow looked around with the vision of the 9-domain world and found that there were several small spaces near the 9-domain world. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow began to fly. After flying to the space barrier, Night Sorrow took a deep breath and passed through the space barrier. He entered the space turbulence and began to travel. This space was a little far from the 9-domain world, so it was not easy for Night Sorrow to travel there. If it was before, Night Sorrow would not dare to do this because the deep space turbulence was very scary. This was also why Night Sorrow wanted to try it once when he became a 5-star Holy King. It was not that Night Sorrow wanted to take the risk, but he did not have enough Spirit Stones. He would not use the Holy Spirit Stone. Night Sorrow used the rule of nothingness and the chi of nothingness to protect his body. The rule of nothingness cut forward and traveled at the fastest speed. The space storm was too violent, and he could not afford to consume it. It was less than 200 feet, but it was enough for Night Sorrow to exhaust his chi. Night Sorrow was very satisfied that he could reach his destination. Then Night Sorrow began to look for Spirit Stones inside the space. He came here for Spirit Stones. After spending 2 months, Night Sorrow had collected all the Spirit Stones in the surroundings of this space. However, Night Sorrow did not find any Spirit Stones in the central area. Night Sorrow did not come to the central region of this space to look for Spirit Stones. His main purpose was to see if there were any Origin Stones. In reality, he found nothing. The 9 Realms Origin Energy told Night Sorrow that he had the 9 Realms Origin Energy in his body, which was rejected by the alternate dimension. The spatial Origin Energy had sensed it a long time ago and had hidden itself, making it impossible to find. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and nodded. After experiencing some things, he was not an idiot. He was able to obtain the Nothingness Origin Energy because he had the Nothingness attribute. Moreover, he was able to smoothly enter the Nothingness space because the 2 worlds were very close to each other. Not counting the high-grade Spirit Stones, Night Sorrow had obtained close to 3,000 top-grade Spirit Stones. He was very satisfied with this result, and it would last him for a long time. However, he knew that this was because he had the 9 domain sources, which allowed him to sense Spirit Stones in a large area. If he had relied on himself, he would not have had such an effect. After drinking 2 mouthfuls of wine, Night Sorrow returned to the space barrier. He tore open the space and, after another struggle, returned to the 9 Realms world. After returning to the city in the sky, Night Sorrow rested with his family for a few days. Then he began to cultivate intensely. As for when the others would return, he did not worry about it. Time passed by as Night Sorrow cultivated diligently. When he felt that his cultivation was increasing quickly, Night Sorrow would take the space-time pagoda to the bottom of Clear Sky City's Clear Sky Mountain and cultivate in the turbulent space. As for those who did not enter the space-time pagoda or could not use the space-time pagoda to cultivate under any circumstances, Night Sorrow did not care. Right now, the most important thing was to increase his cultivation. Besides, the space-time pagoda was his saint artifact, so no one would say anything. When Night Sorrow cultivated to the 6-star Saint King realm, another 5 years had passed in the real world. Night Sorrow cultivated for another few decades before he managed to increase his cultivation by 1 level. The main reason was that the Saint King realm required too much energy to cultivate by 1 level. In addition, Night Sorrow had consumed more than half of his life spirit fluid. This made his heart ache, but there was nothing he could do about it. More are Nuvi the fastest, This time, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion for no other reason than the time he had agreed with Dark King 9. He wanted to take a look. If Dark King 9 had solved some of the problems in the Nether Realm, he would bring Dark King 9 to the Space-Time Pagoda to cultivate. Of course, the two of them still had to make some agreements. Night Sorrow arrived in the Nether Realm. He flew to the nearest city and teleported to Nether City. When he arrived in front of Nether City, Night Sorrow had just stood there for a while when Dark King 9 appeared. Her senses as a powerhouse let her know that Night Sorrow had arrived. She remembered Night Sorrow's aura. Dark King 9 invited Night Sorrow into the main hall of the City Lord's mansion. Her eyes were fixed on Night Sorrow because the last time they met, Night Sorrow was only a 3-star Saint King. Now, she could no longer see Night Sorrow's cultivation. She was a 2-star Saint King, so any cultivation below a 5-star Saint King could not be hidden from her. A technique to hide your cultivation? Dark King 9 asked Night Sorrow. No. As he spoke, Night Sorrow released all of his aura. Dark King 9's expression changed because Night Sorrow's aura was too powerful. It was like a sun that no one could look directly at. Then Night Sorrow withdrew his cultivation and looked at Dark King 9. At least a 6-star saint. I don't blame you for losing. My soul clone will be completed in half a month. It can handle things here, said Dark King 9. She had no intention of resisting now. There's something else that I didn't make clear last time. All saints in the Nether Realm must swear an oath to the heavenly Tao. They must not have any thoughts of rebelling against the 9-domain world. Otherwise, I will kill them all, said Night Sorrow. All right, I'll make arrangements for that. As long as you don't come in and kill, it's fine. Dark King 9 nodded. She understood Night Sorrow's request because it was an unstable factor. My soul clone will be here. There will also be peak saints patrolling. If the saints don't swear an oath to the heavenly Tao, we will deal with them. As for how to make arrangements, I'll arrange a few people to come over later. You can communicate with them, said Night Sorrow. Dark King 9 nodded. She knew that with Night Sorrow's cultivation, the Nether Realm would not be able to resist. Moreover, she had sworn an oath to the heavenly Tao. Even if he didn't, Night Sorrow could kill her in an instant. Following this, Night Sorrow returned to the 9-domain world. He called the people from the commander's residence and told them about the situation in the Nether Realm. The result of their discussion was that Shang Luo and Heavenly Underworld Saint would take turns to guard the Nether Realm. Lu Qin and Jun Xuanji would also take turns to register the new saints in the Nether Realm. They did not need to care about those who had sworn an oath to the heavenly Tao. If anyone escaped, they would kill them. Zhao Fu brought the 4 of them to Nether City and introduced them to Dark King 9. Dark King 9 then told her current assistant, a high-level saint, to take care of this. Dark King 9, I plan to go to the Nether Abyss, Night Sorrow said. That won't do. It's true that I've submitted, but you can't go and destroy the source of the Nether Realm. Dark King 9 was a bit agitated. I'm not going for the source. I need other cultivation resources, Night Sorrow said. Speak. Fourth Watch. Chapter 942. Night Sorrow needed the Life Spirit Elixir to cultivate the Myriad Dao Tome. He didn't have much Life Spirit Elixir left, so he needed to get more. But a place with Death Essence had a high chance of having Life Essence. Even if there wasn't any Life Essence, there would still be Life Spirit Elixir. Seeing that 9 Underworld King Zhu Jiyun was a bit agitated, Night Sorrow told him the reason. If you promise not to harm the Nether Realm's essence, I can take you there, said Zhu Jiyun after hearing Night Sorrow's words. All right, I definitely won't harm the Nether Realm's essence. Also, take care of it and come with me. Your cultivation base isn't high enough. You need to quickly grow stronger, said Night Sorrow. Can I grow as fast as you? Zhu Jiyun looked at Night Sorrow. Genuine Q. Even if it's a bit slower, it won't be much slower. All right, let's go to the Nether Abyss first. I don't even know if I can go down, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow and 9 Underworld King Zhu Jiyun arrived at the Nether Abyss. How much do you know about the Nether Abyss? Asked Night Sorrow as he looked at the Nether Abyss. I can confirm that the Nether Realm's essence is down there. But because the death energy is too berserk, I can't get close. I feel like I'm still very far away, said Zhu Jiyun to Night Sorrow. Then lead the way. We'll head down. Also, don't resist my soul power. If you consume too much energy, I'll bring you to a special spatial treasure to recover, Yishan said, looking at Zhu Jiyun. Night Sorrow had long since wanted to go to the Nether Abyss to find life spirit elixir. That was why he had brought the space-time pagoda with him. Take it easy. If you go too far, the Nether Realm's origin won't come back. It will hurt both the Nether Realm and the Nether Realm. Yishan threw 2 jade jars to Zhu Jiyun. When they left the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow didn't hold back and also filled 2 jars with death spirit elixir for Zhu Jiyun. This made Zhu Jiyun a little unhappy because Night Sorrow did not have the death attribute. After that, Night Sorrow flew up with Zhu Jiyun. After flying for a while, Night Sorrow felt that the Nether Realm's origin had returned to the same place. Above the Netherdark Abyss, Zhu Jiyun looked at Night Sorrow and said, "You don't have the death attribute. What's the use of the death spirit liquid? You're too greedy." "I don't need it, but I have brothers who do. I didn't harm the Netherworld origin either. It's gone back now." Night Sorrow was in a great mood. Because the Nether Realm source was mature and had existed for many years, there was also a lot of life essence accompanying it. It was more than what Night Sorrow had obtained in the past. Say. Chapter 943. The amount of life spirit liquid that Night Sorrow had collected was more than the sum of all the life spirit liquid he had collected. Even if you cultivated in that spatial treasure, the spiritual energy there shouldn't have increased your cultivation so quickly, right? Zhu Jiyun asked. You only know part of it. The most important thing is that when I cultivate in there, time is 20 times faster. 20 years of cultivation is equivalent to 1 year outside. Is that okay? Night Sorrow asked. 20 times faster? Zhu Jiyun looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. Yes, but the consumption of spiritual stones is shocking. If you want to enjoy 20 times faster, bring your own spiritual stones, Night Sorrow said. Okay, I have accumulated spiritual stones for many years. Back then, before I became a Sage King, they were all accumulated and not consumed, Zhu Jiyun said to Night Sorrow. 1 year faster is equivalent to 1 year in the real world. For you to cultivate for 20 years, you will need 300 top-grade spiritual stones, Night Sorrow said. Are you robbing me? Do I only have 300 top-grade spiritual stones? That's only enough for 1 year? Zhu Jiyun said agitatedly. That's true, but I'm also cultivating, so I'll take half of it. Give me how many top-grade spiritual stones you have, Night Sorrow said to Zhu Jiyun. I have less than 500. Zhu Jiyun looked at Night Sorrow and hesitated for a moment before saying, Okay, just throw them on the ground. When I cultivate, I will bring you along, Night Sorrow said. Zhu Jiyun threw 500 top-grade spiritual stones on the ground. It was almost all of her wealth. Your horns are a little weird. They are really ugly, Night Sorrow said after taking the spiritual stones. What do you know? The horns of a netherworld race are a symbol of their cultivation achievements. It is also an honor. The bigger the horns, the stronger they are. Zhu Jiyun was very unhappy that Night Sorrow did not like her horns. You will follow me to the 9-domain world to cultivate. This is very unusual, but since it is the pride of the netherworld race, I will not talk about it. Night Sorrow nodded. Horns were the pride of the netherworld race. Night Sorrow would not look down on Zhu Jiyun because of this. If it's not convenient for you, I can take it back. Zhu Jiyun thought for a moment before retracting his horns into his golden hair. All right, let's go. We'll go to the City Lord's mansion to take a look. When your clone is fully formed, we'll go to the 9 regions world, Night Sorrow said. Zhu Jiyun, who had retracted her horns, had changed her temperament and aura. She was wearing a golden skirt and a half-body battle suit. She looked arrogant but not ferocious. After arriving at the City Lord's mansion, Night Sorrow asked Shang Luo, Heavenly Underworld Saint, Jun Xuanji, and Lu Qin, and learned that everything had gone smoothly. Then I'll remove the formation later. That way, it'll be easier for you to travel back and forth, Knight's Sorrow said. This is risky. If the nether beasts from the nether realm enter the Nine Regions world, it will be troublesome, Jun Xuanji said. They can't enter. The laws of the Nine Regions world have been partially completed. The beings from the nether realm have no chance of entering the supreme river space in the Nine Regions world, Knight's Sorrow said. This was an ability he had gained after the sky-sealing Great Hall and the void fiendish space merged. After that, Knight's Sorrow cultivated in the City Lord's mansion in the nether realm. Zhu Jiyun followed Jun Xuanji and the others to handle matters. Yishang cultivated for 3 months, which was equivalent to 5 days in the real world. When he came out to get some fresh air and was hungry, Zhu Jiyun told him that her doppelganger had already reached large success. She did not need to deal with the matters here with her real body. She could cultivate with Yishang. Nodding, Knight's Sorrow communicated with Jun Xuanji and the others. After leaving behind a messaging crystal, Knight's Sorrow brought Zhu Jiyun to the spatial tunnel. Zhu Jiyun could not enter the Supreme River Space. However, Knight's Sorrow released the Nine Regions world's origin energy and enveloped her to enter the Supreme River Space. After that, they came out of the spatial tunnel in the Medicine Valley and arrived at the Nine Regions world. This is the Nine Regions world. You can enter my spatial sacred treasure to cultivate. After I return, I will also enter to cultivate, Knight's Sorrow said, and put Zhu Jiyun into the space-time pagoda before teleporting back to the city in the sky. After meeting his parents and having tea with his 3 wives and Shi, Knight's Sorrow placed the space-time pagoda beside the lake. This way, anyone who wanted to cultivate could enter and leave freely. After that, Knight's Sorrow entered the 10th level of the space-time pagoda. Seeing Knight's Sorrow enter, Zhu Jiyun opened her eyes. This place is indeed not bad. Continue cultivating. The time acceleration is now 20 times. Call me if you need anything. Don't cultivate too hard and cause your cultivation to become unstable, Knight's Sorrow reminded Zhu Jiyun. In terms of cultivation speed and cultivation, I am inferior to you. However, in terms of experience, you are inferior. After saying that, Zhu Jiyun closed her eyes and began cultivating. Knight's Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiyun before sitting down to cultivate as well. He knew that Zhu Jiyun's words were unpleasant to the ears. However, it was the truth. After cultivating in the space-time pagoda for 5 years, both of them opened their eyes. If they continued to cultivate, their cultivation would become unstable. I'm going out to consolidate my cultivation. What about you? Zhu Jiyun looked at Knight's Sorrow and asked, how are you going to consolidate your cultivation? Knight's Sorrow asked, I'm going to cultivate my combat skills. I will exhaust my cultivation and then recover it before exhausting it again. Zhu Jiyun explained her method of consolidating her cultivation. Then there is no need to go out. Just attack me. If you exhaust your cultivation, I will exhaust my cultivation as well, Knight's Sorrow said to Zhu Jiyun. Don't say that I am intentionally hurting you. Zhu Jiyun took out her scimitar and slashed at Knight's Sorrow. Knight's Sorrow stood there and used his chi to protect himself. Once his chi was exhausted, he would use his innate bloodline energy to protect himself. Then, he would use the Myriad Dao Tome's energy to protect himself. When Zhu Jiyun had no more energy left, Knight's Sorrow's energy was also almost exhausted. Defending without attacking at all consumed a lot of energy. You're good. You're ruthless enough. Zhu Jiyun panted as she continued to cultivate. She had suffered a huge blow because the results of this trial showed that even if Yi Shang stood still, she would not be able to kill him. After the two of them recovered, they continued to exhaust their cultivation. After 3 months of tempering, the two of them felt that it was about time. They continued to cultivate. However, every once in a while, Knight's Sorrow would go to the space-time pagoda to accompany his 3 wives and Shi. He would also accompany his parents. Sometimes, he would even look for Wu Lingfei to drink tea. The days passed as he cultivated. What made Knight's Sorrow regretful was that he still did not have a child. However, there was nothing he could do about it. He could only let nature take its course. Zhu Jian also enjoyed this feeling because the increase in her cultivation was very obvious. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed in the real world. Night Sorrow and Zhu Jian's cultivation had increased a lot. After cultivating in the space-time pagoda for dozens of years, Night Sorrow's cultivation was already a 6-star Saint King and was approaching 7-star Saint King. Zhu Jian was also not far from 3-star Saint King. When he came out of the space-time pagoda again, Night Sorrow received a piece of good news. Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu had both entered the Saint King realm. This was great news. Night Sorrow checked and found that no one was in seclusion to break through. He then shook the space-time pagoda and returned to the top floor. Zhu Jiyun, 2 Saint Kings have appeared in our 9 regions world. There will be a celebration. You should join in and let everyone get to know each other. Only 4B, Y version Z, the rest are pirated versions. Speak. Chapter 944. I only acknowledge you. Although I don't want to admit it, I'm only submitting to you. It has nothing to do with anyone else, said Zhu Jiyun. I know you don't want to face some things, but no one will look down on you. They will all respect you. I promise you, said Night Sorrow. But I'm still the loser. Also, I want to know why you're treating me so courteously. Zhu Jiyun looked at Night Sorrow and asked the question that had always been in her heart. Zhu Jiyun had been thinking about this question for the past few days. Since she couldn't figure it out, she decided to ask. Night Sorrow took out a tea set and brewed a pot of tea. Because the 9 regions world will face a great calamity in a few decades. I might not be able to handle it alone, so I need your help. Also, I'm treating you so courteously because I want the underworld to be stable and there won't be any more wars in the future. Since I've submitted and enjoyed the treatment of your space-time pagoda, I'll help if there's a battle. Zhu Jiyun nodded. She admired Night Sorrow's honesty. Let's go out. Don't mess around. I'll treat you as a friend, said Night Sorrow. Zhu Jiyun nodded. She could feel Night Sorrow's sincerity. After leaving the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow brought Zhu Jiyun to his residence. He then introduced her to his grandfather and parents, as well as Xue Shi, Wu Lingfei, and his 3 wives. She was his friend. Everyone knew who Zhu Jiyun was, but since Night Sorrow introduced her as a friend, everyone treated her with respect. Grandfather went to ask just now. The arrangements for the celebration will be handled by Deputy Grand Elder and Deputy Yin Tianlong. They'll be held in Taiching City, said Yiling Huan. When? Asked Night Sorrow. Someone will inform you in 3 days, said Yiling Huan. These 3 days were relatively easy for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow brought his 3 wives, Xue Shi, and Zhu Jiyun around the 9 domains world. Zhu Jiyun was a woman of few words, but she was quite touched by the local customs. The 9 domains world was filled with warmth and warmth. This was something that the netherworld couldn't compare to. Even the netherworld at its peak couldn't compare. After arriving at the Saint Hall and greeting a few seniors, Night Sorrow brought the children of the Saint Hall to eat and drink in Dongxin City. However, no one charged them. The shop owner even laughed, which touched Zhu Jiyun even more. What's wrong? The food here doesn't suit your appetite, Night Sorrow asked when he saw that Zhu Jiyun was distracted. No, the people here are indeed simple and honest. In comparison, the people in the Nether Realm are more ferocious. However, they lack a sense of humanity. Zhu Jiyun did not hide his thoughts. He only spoke of his feelings. This is the world I want to protect. As long as I have the ability, I won't let this simple and honest world be hurt, said Night Sorrow. Zhu Jiyun nodded. She understood why Night Sorrow was cultivating so hard. It was because he wanted to protect. This was the power of protection. Then, Night Sorrow brought them to Taiching City. He let them rest in the mansion that he rarely stayed in. Night Sorrow drank tea and pondered. What are you thinking about? I always sat opposite Night Sorrow. I'm thinking about how confident we are in surviving the great massacre that happens once every 10,000 years. I think our chances are much higher, said Night Sorrow. Yes, let nature take its course. You don't have to worry too much. Atoy looked at Night Sorrow with some heartache. Don't cultivate too hard. Take it slow. Night Sorrow looked at Aoi, who was already a high-level venerable, and said, I know. Night Junior sister, Chuyu, and I are working hard to cultivate so that we can accompany you. We might not be able to help you in battle, but when you turn back, we will always be by your side, Qing Ji said. I understand. Yishang's heart felt warm because his 3 wives were very understanding of him. They all knew what he wanted. The celebration of the 2 Saint Kings was very grand. After attending, Night Sorrow returned to Sky City with Long Xiansheng and Xianwen Xiao. He told Shao Kahn that the 2 of them could enter the 79th floor of the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda at any time. After entering the Saint King realm, one could enter the 10th floor. However, he was currently cultivating on the 10th floor, so it was not suitable for others to enter. The main reason was that he and Zhu Jiyun were constantly tempering and consolidating their cultivation. It would be a bother to others. After knowing that there was a 9-fold time acceleration effect, Long Xiansheng and Xianwen Xiao were very excited. Xianwen Xiao still had some savings. He gave Night Sorrow a few hundred top-grade spirit stones. Everyone knew that the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda was made of spirit stones. After that, Night Sorrow relaxed for another 2 days. Then, he entered the Space-Time Treasure Pagoda to cultivate. He planned to enter the high-level Saint King realm as soon as possible. This way, his strength would increase. In the 9 Regions world, he would have the ability to fight against a peak Saint King. According to the 9 Regions world's origin Shi, when the 9 Regions world's laws were perfected, it would be able to prevent anyone from entering the mysterious Sky World. In other words, in the Great Massacre Calamity, the strongest opponent that Night Sorrow would have to face was a peak saint. According to this theory, if Night Sorrow entered the high-level Saint King realm, it would mean that he would have the ability to protect himself. Zhu Jian was also working very hard. Back then, her cultivation was much higher than Night Sorrow's. But now, not only had Night Sorrow caught up with her, he had even surpassed her. She could not even see his cultivation clearly. This made her a little anxious. Forever exempt V. FYC in less than 5 years' time, both of them had advanced. Night Sorrow had entered the 7-star Saint King realm, while Zhu Jian was also a 3-star Saint King. After entering the 3-star Saint King realm, she still could not see Night Sorrow's cultivation. Zhu Jian said, High-level Saint King, before you advanced, I had just entered the 7-star Saint King realm. Night Sorrow said, Do you have to work so hard? Zhu Jian asked. As for that, having more strength means more stability. The Great Massacre Calamity that occurs once every 10,000 years is very scary. It's a disaster. Saint crystals are harvested as materials. You can imagine the tragic situation. I don't want to see that kind of scene, Night Sorrow said. At the same time, he also told Zhu Jian about the Great Massacre Calamity that occurred once every 10,000 years. There are still a few decades in the real world. Based on your current speed, you should have no problem entering the peak Saint King realm. You should be able to block it, Zhu Jian said. If one expert descends, I will block 2 experts. What if there are more? So you have to work hard and cultivate as well. When the time comes, help me fight once, Night Sorrow said. Do I have the right to say no? According to what you said, through the Wuji world, we can enter the mysterious heaven world. When the time comes, can you think of a way to send me into the Wuji world? I want to take a look, Zhu Jian said. Didn't I tell you that there are world masters there? Night Sorrow said with a frown. I want to take a look around, Zhu Jian said. Let's talk about it. I want to take a look around, Night Sorrow said, and continued to meditate to stabilize his cultivation. Speak. Chapter 945. Seeing that Night Sorrow was stabilizing his cultivation, Zhu Jian did not say anything and went to meditate to stabilize his cultivation. After stabilizing his cultivation base for a month, Night Sorrow stood up, shook his neck, and stretched his waist. The explosion that came from Night Sorrow's body made Zhu Jian open his eyes. What are you doing? How can you let him cultivate in peace? Zhu Jian said as he looked at Night Sorrow. All right, it's about time. Let's go out for a walk. After saying that, Night Sorrow wrapped Zhu Jiyun with his energy and exited the space-time treasure pagoda. I haven't thought about going out yet. Are you worried that I will surpass you if I keep cultivating? Zhu Jiyun asked Night Sorrow. You're thinking too much. Can you do it? Let's go around and have a look. After saying that, Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiyun began to teleport. First, they went to the Night Moon Dynasty's region. Then, they went to the various regions before finally arriving at the Western Nether region. This is the Western Nether region that suffered from the flames of war back then. It's not bad now, right? Actually, you can be more humane in the management of the Nether realm, Night Sorrow said as he looked around Western Nether City. When I came here, my avatar used this method to manage things. Isn't your avatar in the Nether realm? Didn't you see it? Zhu Jiyun asked. I'm in the Nether realm, but I've been researching battle skills, movement techniques, and combat skills. I didn't go to check out the situation in the Nether realm, Night Sorrow said. P initial B. So you were just bluffing when you said that you would patrol the Nether realm and kill saints who didn't swear an oath, Zhu Jiyun said. Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiyun and said, just take care of it. Do you think I'm a murderous person? After that, Night Sorrow went to the Profound Mysteries realm to take a look. The Profound Mysteries realm had developed very quickly over the past decade or so. It could be said that it had returned to its previous state before the war, but it had also surpassed it. Not bad, right? With a united heart, we can overcome any obstacle, Night Sorrow said. Zhu Jiyun nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow was right. Everyone in the nine-domain world and the Profound Mysteries realm were united. Therefore, it was peaceful wherever they went. After walking around, Night Sorrow arrived at the Templar Hall. He practiced his spear arts in front of the practice field, while the members of the Templar Hall followed behind Night Sorrow. The unity of man and spear is the foundation of the unity of heaven and earth. It is also a shortcut to the realm of cultivation. Remember, man is the spear, and the spear is man. It is an extension of your body. Night Sorrow demonstrated his spear art while talking about his past insights. After cultivating for a while, and everyone rested, Yin Yin walked over to Night Sorrow's side and brewed a pot of tea for him. Brother, if you have time, come over more often. My companions, and I miss you a lot. It's not that I don't want to come. It's just that I have a lot of things to do. I have to use this time to cultivate. How have you been? Asked Night Sorrow. Very good. Other than cultivating, we're going out to train. We often go to the Supreme River Domain and the Wasteland to train our combat strength. I've already awakened my 5th bloodline energy. Once I reach the Venerable Realm, I'll be able to use spatial tears, said Yin Yin. Ning Yin, do you have any problems? Night Sorrow nodded to Yin Yin before looking at Ning Yin. I'm fine. Everything is going very smoothly. Ning Yin nodded. What about you, Chiyue? Tell Uncle if you have any problems. Night Sorrow looked at Chiyue. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine. Chiyue nodded. Although she was already an adult and a mid-5th rank cultivator, she still treated herself as the little girl from back then. She still enjoyed Night Sorrow's concern. If you have any problems, just tell Uncle. Also, the first batch of children aren't young anymore. If you have someone you like and want to start a family, just tell Uncle. I'll take care of it for you. Night Sorrow nodded to Chiyue. Uncle, you've worried about us quite a bit over the years. We're very grateful. Chiyue bowed slightly. Chiyue, from the day you came to the Sacred Hall, you were all my family. Night Sorrow sighed. In response to Night Sorrow, all the Sacred Hall's disciples bowed. You've all grown up. As your uncle, I'm very gratified. No matter where you go in the future, remember that the Sacred Hall is your home. Remember that Uncle is your family. Night Sorrow looked at the group of children and said. Following that, Night Sorrow once again brought the group of children to Dongxian City to eat and drink. The restaurant still didn't accept money, but Night Sorrow knew that the steward of the Sacred Hall would settle the bill. Although the commoners of Dongxian City didn't mind, the Sacred Hall still had its principles. Night Sorrow brought Zhu Jiyun back to the Medicine Valley's bamboo forest peak to make tea and rest. Zhu Jiyun kept thinking, with such a group of children who respect and understand you, you do have a reason to fight for them to the end. Zhu Jiyun said. I hope the Nether Realm will be the same in the future. Night Sorrow said. Then why didn't you say that the Sacred Hall will accept children from the Nether Realm? Zhu Jian asked. It's not the same. The Nether Realm is different from the Profound Mysteries Realm. The Profound Mysteries Realm has submitted to the Nine-Domain world. When we deal with our relationship, we treat it as an alliance and give it enough respect. Because of this relationship, the Profound Mysteries Realm is equivalent to a subsidiary world of the Nine-Domain world. Both sides can freely pass through the spatial passageway. Night Sorrow said. The Nether Realm's current development is facing all kinds of difficulties. Can we also take the same path as the Profound Mysteries Realm? Zhu Jian asked. There are many problems in the process. We need the entire world to submit. Only then will the people of the Nether Realm be able to freely enter and leave the Nine-Domain world, Night Sorrow said. It's just a formality. The price to pay for sticking to this formality is that the Nether Realm will live a miserable and desolate life. Besides, what's the difference between submission and submission? If I submit, saints will have to swear an oath to the heavenly Tao. In fact, it's no different from being ruled by the Nine-Domain world, Zhu Jian said. Then, on your clone's side, tell the upper echelons of the Nether Realm that the Nine-Domain world's commander's residence will draft the treaty. Then, both sides will sit together and discuss it, Night Sorrow said. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow went to the commander's residence and asked Yun Tianlong to call the upper echelons of the commander's residence back. With a messaging crystal and teleportation array, the commander's residence's people gathered very quickly. Now, let's talk about the Nether Realm. The Nether Realm can develop in the same way as the Profound Mysteries Realm. Now, Uncle Master, you can draft the terms of the alliance. Other than the stipulation that the Nether Beasts cannot enter the Nine-Domain world, everything else is the same as the Profound Mysteries Realm. Night Sorrow directly expressed his attitude. Night Sorrow's attitude was actually a decision. At this time, Night Sorrow was a high-level Saint King. Whether it was in terms of prestige or personal strength, he stood at the top of the Nine-Domain world. Tai Shuyan held a pen and paper. As she communicated with everyone, she drafted the terms. Elder June, gather more people from the Profound Mysteries Realm and help rebuild the Nether Realm. Remember, restrain the Nether Beasts. Night Sorrow said the last sentence to Zhu Jian. Speak. Chapter 946. Night Sorrow returned to Sky City after arranging for people to execute the alliance. As for the Nine Regions world's people passing through the spatial tunnel, his soul avatar was there to take care of it. He didn't plan to personally deal with the alliance. Night Sorrow sailed the boat in Sky City's lake with Sikong Chiyu, Yang Lei, Aoi, and Shui Shi accompanying him. This guy is really good. He slept the whole afternoon, Yang Lei said as she looked at Night Sorrow, who was sleeping on the deck chair. This is returning to nature. Everything is so close to nature. If I can comprehend it, I will have touched the threshold of the Saint King realm, Shui Shi said. They rested until night fell. Night Sorrow then had dinner with everyone. Just as everyone was eating, a golden light appeared in the sky. The golden light spun in the air, then fell on Night Sorrow and entered Night Sorrow's body. The light of virtue has descended. It seems that the alliance contract between the Nine Regions world and the Nether Realm has been formed. Night Sorrow had the Nine Regions sources, so he could understand it. At this time, the golden light circle behind Night Sorrow's head was very obvious. The only version was the VZ version. Night Sorrow's main body chatted with the girls while his soul avatar stopped the operation of the array on both sides of the spatial tunnel. This way, the Nine Regions world and the Nether Realm could be connected. The Supreme River Space was just an extra teleportation. The Nether Realm and the Nine Regions world's factions both sent people to guard the spatial tunnel, mainly to prevent low-level Nether beasts without intelligence from entering the Supreme River Space and entering the Nine Regions world. After dealing with the matter, Zhu Jian returned to Sky City. Her soul avatar was cultivating at the spatial tunnel entrance. Since the Nether Realm was fine, Night Sorrow's soul avatar returned to Sky City and returned to his main body. I've done what I needed to do. I've arranged everything. Your people can manage over there, Zhu Jiyun said. Night Sorrow nodded. He was also aware of the situation. Under Zhu Jiyun's orders, the Nine Domain World's Commander-in-Chief's residence had taken over the management of the Nether Realm. After returning to the lakeside, Night Sorrow communicated with Shao Kong. Zhu Jiyun could freely enter and exit the space-time pagoda, but only at the top level. Night Sorrow, can your spirit stones last? Sikong Chiyu asked. We can still hold on for a while, but we need to think of something. We can't just keep going out and not going in, Night Sorrow said. Like Night Sorrow, Zhu Jiyun had just advanced to the next realm not too long ago. Therefore, they both rested outside for a period of time before going to cultivate. Night Sorrow went to the spatial worlds around the Nine Domain World to look for spirit stones. This way, the space-time pagoda could operate at full speed and help everyone cultivate. He also wanted to cultivate. At this moment, Night Sorrow was not as anxious as before. He had entered the level of a high-level Saint King and already had the ability to protect himself. From now on, he just needed to slowly and steadily increase his cultivation level. Currently, he only had 2 levels of room for improvement, and only a part of the time had passed. Yishang wasn't in a hurry, but the others were still nervously cultivating. However, Night Sorrow was also very bored. Everyone was anxiously cultivating, and he was the only one who came out. He was also very bored, so he walked around and collected a strand of the Nether Realm's essence. Then, he also entered cultivation. In the blink of an eye, 30 years had passed in the real world. Night Sorrow casually cultivated and also reached the middle-level Saint King. After coming out of seclusion this time, Night Sorrow went to Clear Sky City to check on the situation of the array and whether the Nine Domain Origin was stable. This was because the Nine Domain Origin told Night Sorrow that the profound Sky World and the Nine Domain World were getting closer and closer to each other. The time had also been brought forward, and it was within 10 years. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow came to check on the situation of Clear Sky City. Not to mention other places, this place had to be stable. Night Sorrow had also thought about whether or not to rebuild Clear Sky City. However, after discussing with the Nine Domain Origin, he gave up on this idea. The current era was different from 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, Clear Sky City was the cultural center, but it was not the core of the Nine Domain. The Nine Domain Origin and Clear Sky City were not in the same place. Now that Clear Sky City and the Nine Domain core were together, if they were to rebuild Clear Sky City, it would create some unnecessary, unstable factors. The powerful relationship between them was analyzed and concluded, so Night Sorrow rejected the idea of rebuilding Clear Sky City. This time, Night Sorrow came here. One was to inspect the situation, and the other was to get a title, a Saint King title. In these 30 years, Night Sorrow did not quickly increase his cultivation in order to stabilize his cultivation and keep up with his state of mind. Now that he was doing very well, he planned to get a title. That way, he would be able to obtain the blessing of the Nine Domain Origin. With a very stable cultivation, Night Sorrow had no problems getting a title, and he easily passed. Golden light once again appeared all over the Nine Domain world. Even the profound Mysteries realm, Supreme River Domain, and Underworld realm had golden light. Something big had happened in the main world, so it naturally affected the subsidiary worlds. In the city in the sky, a young man stood outside the space-time pagoda. The immortal Saint King has already surpassed me in the past. Perhaps it's time to change the situation. This young man was none other than Yi Qianhua. He had just entered the Saint realm and had gone through the lightning tribulation. 20 years ago, after he had entered stage 5, Night Sorrow had brought him here and had him cultivate in the space-time pagoda. With the insights, experiences, realms, and memories from his previous life, Yi Qianhua's cultivation had not faced any bottlenecks. Because of the guidance of his soul, his new body was spatial. He did not have the talent of the Yi clan, but his true chi was spatial, so he could still use spatial cracks. At this time, Yi Xinyue came to Yi Qianhua's side. Xinyue Emperor is here. The commander has successfully obtained the title of Saint King. The immortal Saint King is a forbidden title. This has never happened before in the history of the nine-domain world. In other words, he's the most accomplished person in the nine-domain world, said Yi Qianhua. Then he's a peak Saint King? Asked Yi Xinyue in surprise. It's hard to say, but he definitely has the greatest potential. As for his specific cultivation, only he knows, said Yi Qianhua. Then Yi Qianhua entered the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Standing in front of the heaven-sealing palace, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and decided to go to Underworld to take a look. He hadn't gone there since he had solved the matter of the life spirit liquid. He also wanted to see how much Underworld had recovered in 30 years. After using the transportation formation under Supreme Sky City twice, Night Sorrow arrived at the entrance of the spatial passageway in the Nether Realm. At this time, Xue Wuling was in charge of guarding. Seeing Xue Wuling, Night Sorrow threw a jar of wine to her. He still remembered the scene when he had fought side by side with Xue Wuling. "Commander, how do you have time to come and take a look?" asked Xue Wuling after taking a sip. "I wanted to move after a long period of silence, so I came out for a walk. Is everything okay?" asked Night Sorrow. "There are saints from Underworld guarding there. We're just in case. We can activate the formation," said Xue Wuling. Night Sorrow nodded and entered the spatial passage. As soon as he came out of the spatial passage, a golden light appeared in the sky above Night Sorrow's head. It was a very bright golden light. "Speak." Chapter 9:47. Light of Merit. Night Sorrow knew that this was the light of merit. This made him understand that at the beginning of the war, he was rejected by the origin of the Nether Realm because of the sin of killing. However, as time passed, the Nether Realm changed. Naturally, his merit was boundless. At this moment, the light of merit on Night Sorrow's body was very strong. It was equivalent to him benefiting 3 worlds. It was a great merit. After walking around the Nether Realm, Night Sorrow realized that the Nether Realm had recovered quite well. It no longer had the broken aura that was riddled with holes. Feeling that everything was fine, Night Sorrow returned to the city in the sky. He planned to continue to improve his cultivation and enter the 9-star Saint King realm. He would not be afraid of the calamity of killing that would follow him. Zhu Jiyun, who was meditating in the space-time treasure pagoda, opened his eyes. The light of merit on your body is very strong. It is even very close to the great merit sage recorded in the ancient books. Your cultivation has improved quite well. You are not far from becoming a 5-star saint, Night Sorrow said. I don't have any other thoughts. At least I can see your cultivation. Zhu Jiyun was very dissatisfied with the current situation. Zhu Jiyun had spent more time cultivating than Night Sorrow. However, in reality, his cultivation had not caught up by much. This was because the space-time treasure pagoda was Night Sorrow's holy treasure. The amount of energy that Night Sorrow could refine was as much as he could. On the other hand, Zhu Jiyun was slightly weaker. This was because a high-level Saint King needed more energy to cultivate than a mid-level Saint King. Work hard on your cultivation. Your clone is very strong. If your main body's cultivation improves, it means that both of you have improved. It is equivalent to 2 high combat powers, Night Sorrow said. Give me time. I will have no problem cultivating to the high-level Saint King realm, Zhu Jiyun said. There is not much time left. About 10 years, Night Sorrow said. Then, even if the space-time treasure pagoda accelerates, I only have 200 years. Then I can become a 6-star saint. I have wasted a lot of time relaxing my state of mind. Zhu Jiyun was a little annoyed. There's nothing we can do about it. Just work hard. I'm going to cultivate as well. If you want to relax, you can go out by yourself, Night Sorrow said. I want to give it a try. I will use the Death Spirit liquid to cultivate and seize the opportunity to enter the high-level Saint King realm. If we fail in the Great Massacre Calamity, the consequences will be too severe. After joining the 9 Regions World's camp, she naturally knew how dangerous the Great Massacre Calamity was. Then I'll have to trouble you a little. Because within these 10 years, Senior Long Xiansheng and Senior Xian Wenxio's greatest improvement would only be at the mid-level Saint King realm. As for the high-end combat strength, it would be you and me. I'm not afraid of dying in battle, but I'm really afraid of losing. Sometimes we can try again if we lose, but sometimes we won't be able to bear it if we lose. Knight Sorrow said, I can understand you. Also, my clone has entered the Beast King Sea and formed a small team of Saint Nether Beasts. I'll bring them over later. This way, we won't be at a disadvantage in a battle between saints. Zhu Jiyun said, All right, thank you for your trouble. Let's cultivate. Knight Sorrow sat down and began to cultivate. His goal was to become a 9-star Saint King. At that time, with the help of the world's origin energy, he would be able to kill all opponents below the King realm. Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu cultivated together and also stabilized their cultivation. After Shang Luo and Heavenly Underworld saints submitted to the Nether Realm, they didn't stay in the Nether Realm often. They also walked around and looked at the various situations of the world, looking for an opportunity to break through. After entering the late stage of the Star Saint King realm, Knight Sorrow brought the space-time treasure pagoda to the bottom of Clear Sky Mountain and entered the spatial turbulence to stabilize his cultivation. During this period of time, Knight Sorrow sealed the space-time treasure pagoda. No one could enter or leave the space-time treasure pagoda. But before coming, Knight Sorrow had informed everyone that they had to leave in advance. While stabilizing his cultivation base within the violent spatial turbulence, Knight Sorrow's cultivation base had also risen. What Knight Sorrow had used up was the time he had spent tempering his cultivation base within the spatial turbulence. The time he had spent meditating within the pagoda of space-time was negligible. Using 4 years in the real world, Knight Sorrow pushed his cultivation to the 9-star Saint realm. Zhu Jiyun, who used the Death Spirit liquid to cultivate, increased her cultivation even faster. She had already reached the peak of the 5-star Saint realm. Her method of stabilizing her cultivation was the same as Knight Sorrow's, but the time she could stay in the spatial turbulence was very short. Now that his cultivation had reached the 9-star Saint realm, Knight Sorrow decided to take a break. He would naturally cultivate and increase his cultivation as much as he could in the remaining time. Knight Sorrow once again placed the space-time treasure pagoda beside the lake in the city in the sky. Then, he spent time with his parents and wife. Wu Lingfei and Shui, she were both peak saints. They were both looking for opportunities and were not in the city in the sky. It was difficult for a venerable to enter the saint realm. It was even more difficult for a saint to enter the Saint King realm from the saint realm. Without a certain level of comprehension, one would be stuck here forever. Yiling Huan, Yi Wuyo, and Yu Qing were all peak 5-star saints. This was already a very fast speed of improvement. The saints that Knight Sorrow knew had their cultivation improved greatly. Xiaolan Jun had also cultivated to the late-stage 9-star saint realm. Nan Gan Sheng, Zhan Hai Sheng, and Black Dragon Sheng were all high-level saints. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow decided to go to the Saint Hall to take a look. He was no longer worried about the members of the god-slaying team. They were all venerables. Among them, Tianyu and Yi Mei were already peak venerables. Many of the others were high-level venerables. It could be said that Knight Sorrow had enough resources to push them all the way. Even a fool could push their cultivation up. Looking at the original version, Tianyu and Yi Mei had already begun to comprehend the laws. Tianyu went to the Night Moon Sea to comprehend the laws of time in the Night Moon clan's territory. Yi Mei had cultivated to the peak of the Venerable realm. She revealed the power of the laws of wind. This was the power of a high-level exotic beast. When he arrived at the Saint Hall, Knight Sorrow discovered that the children that he had personally taught were no longer in the Saint Hall. They had all cultivated successfully and had made great achievements. Under the arrangement of Tai Shu Yin, they had set up the 9 Regions World Camp's law enforcement team. They had already patrolled all over the 9 Regions World Camp. This made Knight Sorrow a little disappointed. He missed those children. Nian Xiao, Ning Yun, and Qi Yue are all venerables. You don't have to worry anymore. They can already take care of themselves. Jun Xuanji said as he looked at Night Sorrow. Yes, they've all grown up, but I still miss them, Night Sorrow said with a sigh. You're not like the 9 regions commander. Don't be like this. Our original intention was to let them live well. Commander, you've done it, Tai Shuyin said. There's one more thing that I hope will be of help to you. My senior apprentice brother became a saint a few years ago. Not only did his cultivation soar, but because of the power of the laws, his killing intent is very powerful. You could try to study it, Jun Xuanji said. Actually, your senior apprentice brother is a wise man. Only King Realm cultivators can comprehend the will of heaven and earth, Night Sorrow said with a smile. I see. Jun Xuanji was a little surprised. She did not know this at all. If everything goes well, your senior apprentice brother will be a great talent, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Following this, Night Sorrow brought his wife to Chun Chen's tea house. Speak. Chapter 948. Not bad. After sitting down, Night Sorrow looked at Chun Chun, who was walking over with a teapot, and said, It's not just not bad, it's great. Qianhua came back a few days ago and stayed for 2 days before going to cultivate again. Chun Chun began to make tea as soon as he arrived. Chun Chun was a little old. He looked like a middle-aged man with a beard. After Night Sorrow gave him the life spirit liquid, he spent 3 years to recover his dantian and another 10 years to cultivate to the void inquiry stage. However, he was already a middle-aged man at that time. It's good that it's not bad. You're a good tea owner, and you're even doing it yourself, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Hee, it's only because you guys are here that I came out to receive you. Didn't you see that there are a few staff here? This time it's good tea. After Chun Chun made the tea, Night Sorrow said with a smile, When I came here to drink tea before, the tea was really not very good. I just didn't want to say it. I hope you didn't disappoint me this time. Good tea. Who do I sell it to? I got this by chance from a peddler. It's recorded in the ancient books that it's called heart-cleansing tea. It's said that it can wash away the troubles and dust in one's heart. Look at it. It's very thorough, Chun Chun said. Then I have to try it. Night Sorrow took a sip with a smile. After drinking it, he did feel a refreshing feeling in his heart. It's indeed a rare good tea. Pack some for me and my wife later, Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's fine if you don't pay for the tea, but you want to pack it. This is robbery, Chun Chun said with a smile, but his wife had already come over with a few packs of tea. After drinking the tea, Night Sorrow stood up, took out the bottle with more than a dozen drops of life spirit liquid, and handed it to Chun Chen's wife. I won't be so polite with you, Chun Chen said. When you have time, take sister-in-law to see Father Gu. Life is not easy, let alone being father and son. Night Sorrow, who walked to the door of the tea house, turned around and said, You still recognize me as your brother? Hearing Night Sorrow call his wife sister-in-law, Chun Chen's voice was a little choked. 10 years later. If I'm still alive 10 years later, then you're my brother. Night Sorrow then left the tea house. Yishan's change is truly great. It's hard to imagine, Sikong Chiyu said with some astonishment. Venerable is a big hurdle. Night. After Yishang left, Chun Chun looked at his wife with red eyes. Do you know that I have no friends or brothers in my life? That year when I found out that I had a sworn brother, I was so happy, so happy. But later, everything was ruined by me. I didn't think that he would acknowledge me. He said 10 years. Why did he say he would still be alive 10 years later? Is he going to do something in 10 years? Chin Chin's wife asked, puzzled. We don't understand his world. Let's ask our son when he comes back. That's the life spirit liquid. Last time, you only took 2 drops. This time, you'll be fine. The life spirit liquid can improve your physique and make you live longer. We can watch our son grow up smoothly. Chin Chin looked at the jade bottle in his wife's hand and said, Night Sorrow took his 3 wives back to the bamboo forest peak and lived there. He calmed his state of mind and cultivation and drank with his master and senior brothers when he had time. Now, not to mention the other peaks in the Medicine Valley, Night Sorrow's 10 senior brothers and 2 senior sisters on Taishin Peak were all venerables. Of course, the strongest were Yang Lei and Aoi. Both of them were already 9th-level venerables. Like Sikong Chuyu, they were comprehending the power of rules and could enter the Saint Realm at any time. More than 30 years of bitter cultivation in the space-time pagoda had led to their high cultivation today. Time slowly passed. As the ruler of the nine-domain world, Yishang felt pressured because the profound sky world had already moved to the sky above the nine-domain world. When it reached the sky above the nine-domain world, it would be the time for the massacre to descend. Knight Sorrow was worried, but he was more at ease because he had done everything he could. His cultivation had reached the middle of the 9 stars Holy King and was not far from the peak of the Holy King realm. After 2 years of self-cultivation in the Bamboo Forest Peak, Knight Sorrow returned to the city in the sky. The space-time pagoda was operating as usual. The towering pagoda not only relied on the energy of the spirit stones inside, but also absorbed energy from itself. When Knight Sorrow returned, Zhu Jian walked out of the space-time pagoda. She was now a middle of the 6 stars Holy King and had come out to calm her state of mind. She had been cultivating crazily in the past few years. Middle of the 9 stars Holy King. I can see your cultivation now, Zhu Jiyun said as she looked at Knight Sorrow. It's not long now, about 6 to 7 years. I don't know if it's enough for you, Knight Sorrow said. It's about time. The Nether Beast's Holy King team has already set up camp at the spatial tunnel of the Nether Realm. They can come over whenever they need to, Zhu Jian said. After talking for a while, Zhu Jian left. She had come out to relax. No matter what kind of clansmen they are, they have a fierce and peaceful side. She is no longer the fierce 9 Nether King from before, always said. That's because our 13 is capable. If he did not subdue her, she would still be the fierce Nether King, Yang Lei said. Don't enter the pagoda of time and space. Just relax outside. Also, help me inform the commander's office that all the Holy Kings must be mobilized and arranged together. The Great Massacre is targeted at Holy Kings, Knight Sorrow said to Sikong Chiyu and the other 2. After giving the instructions, Knight Sorrow entered the pagoda of time and space and began to cultivate. Although there was not much room for him to improve, he had not reached his limit. Look at Chapter 4 of the book. After Knight Sorrow went into seclusion, Sikong Chiyu and the other 2 found Yun Tianlong. After telling him Knight Sorrow's intentions, they returned to the mansion in the city in the sky to continue their seclusion. They continued to comprehend the rules and prepare to break through to Holy King. After using 3 years in the real world and 60 years in the pagoda of time and space, Knight Sorrow's cultivation had reached the late 9 stars Holy King. After coming out of seclusion, Knight Sorrow brought the pagoda of time and space to the spatial barrier below Haotian City to consolidate his cultivation. As for the mobilization and arrangement of the troops, Knight Sorrow was not worried. Someone would arrange it. At this time, the 9 regions world had already moved. Yun Tianlong found Lin Yuandao and did not hide his identity as the Hall Master of the Assassination Hall. Then, he and Lin Yuandao used the information of the Tianji Tower and the Assassination Hall to gather all the venerables and saints. The venerables were all sent to the Central State Prefecture. Some talented seedlings, most of whom were disciples of the Holy Hall, were sent to Shuet Dao Heaven through the teleportation formation of the Tianji Tower. In the Great Massacre, the Holy Kings were harvested, but the venerables and geniuses were also targets to be killed. The Tianxin world would not let the 9 regions world grow. Knight Sorrow used 2 years to consolidate his cultivation. Knight Sorrow's cultivation stabilized, and his cultivation was not far from peak Holy King. His cultivation of the Myriad Tao Tome was slightly weaker, but he was close to the late 9 stars Golden Body realm. Speak. Chapter 949. While Knight Sorrow was raising his cultivation, his most important helper, Zhu Jiuyun, had also entered the 7-star Saint King realm. This made Knight Sorrow very happy. Zhu Jiuyun had high attributes and a powerful clone. It would not be easy for a Star Saint King to kill her. In addition, Knight Sorrow also had powerful clones. Even if 3 or 4 high-level Saint Kings came, he would not need to worry. After telling Zhu Jiuyun to stabilize her cultivation, Night Sorrow returned to Sky City. After putting away the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow went to the commander's mansion. After learning about the arrangements of Yin Tianlong and the others, Night Sorrow was very satisfied. Night Sorrow estimated that the Heaven Profound World and the Nine Regions World were close to each other. It should be between Sky-Bearing City and Yixiang City in the Sky-Bearing World. After announcing that they were ready for battle, Night Sorrow returned to Sky City and shook the space-time pagoda. Except for a few Saint Kings, everyone else came out. There were some things that needed to be arranged in advance. After the arrangements were made, Night Sorrow stayed in the city in the sky. His doppelganger cultivated battle skills, Void Extreme Kill and Sky Desolation Fatal Spear. Void Extreme Kill was a spear technique that used Void, Chi, and Void principles to directly melt everything around the tip of the spear. Sky Desolation Absolute Kill was based on the power of desolation, which was also the power of time. It accelerated the destruction of the opponent's body. In addition to its ferocious attack power, it could affect the opponent's reaction and take away their vitality. As for the power of space, Night Sorrow did not use the space crack. He could use the space blade attack infinitely. In addition, the soul extinguishing crescent moon / in Night Sorrow's Spirit Sea was extremely condensed, almost like a real weapon. The Nine Regions World's camp moved. Those who could not participate in the war and were the enemy's target all retreated. Those who needed to fight prepared for battle. Night Sorrow felt that the Heaven Profound World was putting more and more pressure on the Nine Regions World. This was because the two worlds were getting closer and closer. This made Night Sorrow very unhappy. To put it bluntly, it was as if he was waiting to be bullied. He was very unwilling to accept this. All things had spirits, and all life was equal. However, the other party treated the Nine Regions World like a slaughterhouse. This was an insult in itself. The Nine Regions World's origin energy told Night Sorrow to remain calm. This was the feeling of being a world lord. It could be said that this was the feeling of the Nine Regions World. At this moment, in a majestic hall in the profound sky world, a man wearing a brocade robe sat on the main seat. The man was bathed in the light of a fire. Father, the subsidiary worlds that the profound sky world has passed through in the past 10,000 years are all subsidiary worlds of other dynasties. We are about to reach the region of the Nine Domains world. We can make our move now. A man in a light yellow battle robe said. The only genuine copy. The rest are pirated copies. The Nine Regions world is the place where the remnants of the Yi clan reside. Powerful people should have appeared there. The Golden Roar ancestor came to find this emperor some time ago. Their clan entered the Nine Regions world with our South Sky dynasty 10,000 years ago. The trapped disciple was killed some time ago. The man sitting on the main seat said, Emperor, some time ago, the life jade of an outstanding junior disciple of my clan, Bo Qingyan, was also shattered. An old man stood up and said, It seems like the Nine Regions world is really going to be destroyed. Otherwise, they will really be overturned. The man called Emperor said, The last time we sent people, we suffered a great loss. Gong Yonglai shattered the Nine Regions world's origin energy. This time, the Emperor sent people to take that piece of origin energy and find other origin energy to destroy the Nine Regions world. This is to comfort our people who died last time. The old man said. He was the head of the South Sky dynasty's Bo Qing clan, Bo Qing Han. The Bo Qing that Night Sorrow killed was only his surname. His name was Bo Qing Yuan. Then this matter will be handled by the head of the Bo Qing clan and my son. Our South Sky dynasty can choose not to take this subsidiary world. After all, without a channel to connect to it, we can only approach it once every 10,000 years. It doesn't have much meaning. The emperor, sitting on the main seat, said, Yes. Bo Qing Han and the yellow-robed man bowed and said. The yellow-robed man was the third prince of the South Sky dynasty, Shang Zhengchun. He was a powerful prince with a very high cultivation base. At this time, a black-armored man took out a white origin energy stone and handed it to Shang Zhengchun. Third Prince, this is a part of the 9 regions world's origin energy. Take this, and you can find the other origin energy. Last time, I was forced to retreat because they wanted to take me down with them. This time, you can turn the 9 regions world into a scorched earth. This black-armored man was very famous in the South Sky dynasty. He was a genius cultivator and the commander of the Emperor's Imperial Guard. He was already a King Realm cultivator, Gongyang Lai. 10,000 years ago, Gongyang Lai was a half-step King Realm cultivator. He was the one who led a team into the 9 regions world and carried out the Great Massacre. Son, be careful. Although the cultivators of the 9 regions world are weaker than those of a profound sky world, their cultivation speed is very fast. 3 high-level Saint Kings in 10,000 years is an example. You have to know that we carry out a massacre every 10,000 years. For them to have 3 high-level Saint Kings in 10,000 years means that the level of their cultivators is not low. This is comparable to the power of one of the great clans of our profound sky empire, said the Emperor, sitting on the main seat. In the profound sky world, cultivators also had to cultivate step by step. However, the resources were abundant. Cultivating to the Saint Realm was aided by resources, which were materials obtained from killing and Saint crystals. Reaching the Saint Realm depended on one's aptitude and talent. Entering the King Realm was even more difficult. In the Tianan dynasty, there were only a handful of sovereign King Realm cultivators. Chun understands. I will take care of it. In the future, the 9 regions world will be scorched earth. Last time, the 9 regions world was destroyed. This time, the King Realm cultivators should be able to enter. I wonder if Father can send Commander Lai to assist. Shang Zhengchun said. He would not do things that he was not confident in. All right, Commander Lai, you'll follow me. After the matter is settled, you will be rewarded with Saint Spirit Stones. After speaking, the Emperor stood up and disappeared from the main hall in a flash. Then I will have to trouble Commander Lai this time. Commander Lai can deal with emergencies. Shang Zhengchun said. Shang Zhengchun was very polite. It was not only because Gongyang Lai was strong, but also because the Gongyang family was second to none in the South Sky dynasty. You are welcome. By the way, 150 years ago, when this commander was patrolling, I found a man at the old site of the Yi family. After capturing him, I found out that he was the monarch of the Yi family of the 9 regions world. It is funny that the Yi family actually established the Night Moon dynasty in the 9 regions world. Gongyang Lai said. He was very respectful to Shang Zhengchun, but he was also very proud. He did not call himself a subordinate. Haha, we haven't even started fighting yet, but the head of the Yi family is already in our hands. When we go, bring him along and let him see with his own eyes how we destroy the Yi family. Shang Zhengchun said with a smile. No one noticed that there was a trace of disdain in his smile. Shang Zhengchun was unhappy that Gongyang Lai did not call himself a subordinate. However, he could only remember that because Gongyang Lai was not only the commander, but also his brother Shang Jingyuan's right-hand man. Night Sorrow was nervously cultivating. When Yun Tianlong came to report the situation, he gave a new order. Speak. Chapter 950. Night Sorrow ordered everyone in Sky-Bearing City to evacuate. He had a feeling that Sky-Bearing City was the place where the mysterious Heaven World and 9-Domain World intersected. He could only do this to prevent innocent civilians from getting hurt. I will go back and arrange it immediately. Yin Tianlong was very humble now. He was under a lot of pressure when facing Night Sorrow. The sooner, the better. Also, ask the Grand Elder Vice Commander and Chief Steward Lu Qin to bring me the high-grade spirit stones in the Commander's residence's storage. I need them. Also, get the formation Grandmasters and Grandmasters here, Yishan said. After hearing Night Sorrow's instructions, Yin Tianlong went to make the arrangements. Everyone in the 3 realms had to obey Night Sorrow's orders unconditionally. Soon, Taishu Yin and Lu Qin arrived with He Shang and some array masters. Commander, the spirit stones and array masters have been brought. Tai Shuyin said, "Follow He Shang and the rest. I will tell you my requirements. I can confirm that Sky-bearing City is the first place where the mysterious heaven world intersects. In other words, that is the battlefield. Therefore, we need arrays. I don't want the flames of war to spread to other places in the nine-domain world, the profound mysteries realm, and the nether realm." Night Sorrow said, "We understand." He Shang and the rest bowed. The formation this time will be more difficult to set up. Once all of Sky-bearing City's forces have retreated, Protector He Shang will lead everyone to set up the Heavenly Cycle formation. Don't activate it. Plant a flag in the area where the formation will be set up. Later, I will add an illusory formation to the formation, said Ishan. After listening to Night Sorrow's arrangements, Tai Shu Yin and Lu Qin led the array masters to work. Night Sorrow then brought the three Saint Kings cultivating in the space-time treasure pagoda out and explained the current situation. Sky-bearing City is so big. Setting up an array is not easy. Xian Wenxiu said, "In order to avoid the flames of war, this is the best way. Even if it consumes spirit stones, we have to endure it. The two of you are the grand elders of the commander's residence. Continue to gather spirit stones. Every force that has the ability to contribute some. Now is a time of life and death." Night Sorrow said, "All right, let's go and make arrangements. We'll also relax our mental state while we're at it." Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu nodded. They knew that Night Sorrow's strategy was correct. Although there was a consumption, resources and lives couldn't be compared. Night Sorrow continued to cultivate by the lake, but he didn't enter the space-time pagoda. On the 7th day of Night Sorrow's cultivation, Wu Ling Fei returned. To Night Sorrow's delight, Wu Ling Fei had also broken through to the Saint King realm, much faster than Xiaolanjun. "Good timing," Night Sorrow said with a smile. Wu Ling Fei looked at Night Sorrow and said, "It's still a little late. If you need anything, just call Ani Fei. Ani Fei will enter the space-time pagoda to stabilize her cultivation base. When the time comes, I will be able to fight alongside you in my strongest state. Go. If there's anything, I'll call Ani Fei." Night Sorrow nodded. Good things came in pairs. Just as Night Sorrow was about to set up the formation, Xueshi returned. She was also a saint ruler. "What's going on with you guys? You're breaking through one after the other," Night Sorrow said happily. P only VZ a genuine copy. J others are all pirated copies. Who else broke through? Could it be Master Wu Kei? Xueshi asked. In reality, only Wu Ling Fei had a better chance. Xiaolan Jun had just become a peak saint. You guys should stabilize your cultivation together. Night Sorrow brought Xueshi to the top of the space-time pagoda so that she, Wu Ling Fei, and Zhu Juyun could cultivate together. 20 times the time acceleration could buy them some time. Night Sorrow estimated that the battle would take place in a year. A year in the real world was very short, but the acceleration at the top of the space-time pagoda was 20 years. Next, Night Sorrow went to the outskirts of Sky-bearing City and set up the formation according to the signs left behind by He Shang and the others. Sky-bearing City covered a large area, so setting up a complete formation took a lot of time. Night Sorrow set up the formation quickly, but he had to wait for the others to finish setting up the Heavenly Cycle formation so that he could set up the 1000 Development Illusionary formation. After 3 whole months, the formation had quietly formed and Night Sorrow could activate it at any time. Then Night Sorrow placed the space-time pagoda in the center of Sky-bearing City. His soul avatar cultivated in the 9th mansion of the Tianji Tower. What made Night Sorrow sad was that in order to avoid casualties, everyone in Sky-bearing City had left, turning it into a dead city. "What's wrong? You don't seem happy." Sikong Chiyu squatted down and asked Yishan, who was sitting in front of the space-time pagoda. Yang Lei, who had come with her, took out a jar of wine for Yishan. "Things are still the same, but people have changed. When I first came to Sky-bearing City, we joked that we would have a chance to move the space-time pagoda away. I did, but Sky-bearing City is very different from back then. Look, it's a dead city now," said Night Sorrow emotionally. "You've already done your best. Who else can do what you've done? Don't give yourself too much pressure, said Yonglei. I understand. What's the situation in the Medicine Valley? Have all the sovereigns left? Although there's a formation, it's still a threat if someone escapes, said Night Sorrow. They've all left. Don't worry. Everything's been arranged, said Aoi. Go to Night Moon Sky. Someone will send you to the Night Moon Sea, said Night Sorrow to his 3 wives. No, Sikong Chiyu, Yonglei, and Atoi spoke at almost the same time, directly refuting Night Sorrow's suggestion. Almost everyone from the profound heaven world is above the Saint Realm. You haven't reached the Saint Realm yet, so you can't participate in the battle. You're gonna go back, said Night Sorrow. We'll enter the pagoda of time and space with you. We can't give you up and leave, said Yonglei. All right, then enter the pagoda of time and space, said Night Sorrow after thinking for a while. It was indeed impossible to let the 3 women leave at this time. Night Sorrow was not worried about his own safety. He was now at the peak of the Saint King realm. It could be said that as long as there was no problem with the 9 zones origin laws, and he could block the arrival of a King realm expert, he could fight anyone. He could be said to be undefeated. Night Sorrow had always been very confident in himself, not to mention those at the same level. Even if their cultivation was slightly higher than his, he could fight. Now that his true chi cultivation was at the peak of the Saint King realm and the 10,000 Dao scripture was at the late stage of the 9-star golden body realm, it could be said that he could kill a peak Saint King realm cultivator without a problem. In addition, he could use the 9 zones origin laws to suppress them. That was the advantage of the 9 zones master. Time passed slowly. The aura of war was getting closer and closer. It could be said that as long as one was from a 9 zones world, they could feel the oppressive aura. This was the pressure from the profound heaven world. The profound heaven world was a mature spatial world, while the 9 zones world was still very young. They still had a long way to go. Right now, they could not withstand the pressure. On this day, Night Sorrow was meditating when Yi Shunyue accompanied Yi Qianhua to the pagoda of time and space. Emperor Shunyue, why have you come here at this time? Asked Night Sorrow as he looked at Yi Shunyue. It was very inappropriate. Yi Shang, this is my idea. You sent me back to the Night Moon Sea. It's wrong of you to hide this from me. I can't leave this place. I will fight to the end, said Yi Qianhua. Speak. Chapter 951. Your journey in this life has just begun. The best is yet to come. My surname is Night. Good, very good. Then enter the space-time pagoda to stabilize your cultivation. Night Sorrow smiled and nodded at Tianyu. Then I'll go and stabilize my cultivation. When the time comes, I'll fight alongside Brother 13. Tianyu entered the space-time pagoda. This is talent. How long has it been? To be able to comprehend the laws of space. How amazing, Xiaolan Jun said emotionally. Among the saints of the 9 regions world, only Night Sorrow's parents were young because Night Sorrow had taken out the source stones and saint crystals. Then there was Wu Lingfei. She had also cultivated for some time. Everyone else had cultivated for a long time. Tianyu was too young compared to everyone else. Of course, he could not be compared to Night Sorrow. After watching Tianyu enter the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow continued to meditate and cultivate. His chi cultivation could not be increased, but the Myriad Dao treasure tome had not reached the point where it could not be improved. Time passed slowly. The aura of the 9 regions world became more and more oppressive. This was the reason why the mysterious heaven world was getting closer and closer to the 9 regions world. On this day, Night Sorrow stood up. At the same time, he shook the space-time pagoda and transferred the Saint Kings out. What's the situation? Zhu Jian asked after coming out of the space-time pagoda. According to the current situation, the battle will erupt in 3 days. So, everyone stop cultivating and prepare for the final battle, Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. This was the most crucial battle for the 9 regions world. Now, split into groups. Each Saint King will lead a small team of saints. Night Sorrow looked at the group of people and said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone formed their own teams. Zhu Jiuyun, You don't have to. You're a high-level Saint King. You have to support the overall situation, Knight Sorrow said when he saw Zhu Juyin going to arrange the teams of saints from the Netherworld. Then, Saint King Xueshi, you will lead the people from the Netherworld. Zhu Juyin said to Xueshi. Okay. Xueshi nodded. Martial Uncle Tai, this is the spiritual liquid of origin and the spiritual liquid of life. Distribute some to everyone. Knight Sorrow took out a few bottles of spiritual liquid of origin and spiritual liquid of life and handed them over to Tai Shuyan. Tai Shuyan nodded and went to make arrangements. War is cruel and brings only pain. I don't want to see any casualties. I won't be carrying the space-time pagoda with me. I'll just leave it here. If any of you are injured or unable to hold on, just enter the space-time pagoda, Knight Sorrow said. That's not appropriate. That's your protective holy treasure. How can you not bring it with you? Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Long Xiansheng became anxious. Without the space-time pagoda, Knight Sorrow's danger would increase. Leave the space-time treasure pagoda here. It will give everyone a place to retreat. That's how it will be. It won't be that easy for anyone to kill me, Knight Sorrow said. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Long Xiansheng helplessly shook his head. He knew that this was Knight Sorrow. For everyone's safety, he was willing to give up everything. There's one more thing. My clone is wearing a cyan robe. He also has a spatial sacred treasure. If you can't hold on any longer, just get close to my clone. Remember, use the formation to trap them. We can kill them slowly. Everyone has to live. Yi Sorrow emphasized again. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Now, does anyone have anything to add? Yishan saw that everyone nodded and understood what he meant, so he asked again. I have something to say. You should take the space-time treasure pagoda with you. I'll set up an illusion formation here. If our people can't hold on, they can enter the illusion formation. That way, they won't have any problems protecting themselves. Yi Qianhua looked at Knight Sorrow and said, That's for the best. You can take the space-time treasure pagoda with you. If you see anyone in danger, you can save them. Just put them in the space-time treasure pagoda, said Xian Wenxiu. Then let's do that. Come, let us see the methods of the profound heaven world. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of the rise of our 9 regions world. Knight Sorrow swept his gaze over the group. Speak. Chapter 952. Knight Sorrow continued to ponder if there were any loopholes. Yi Qianhua began to set up the formation. He was very proficient in formations, so he set them up very quickly. Yi Shang, give me some more spirit stones. I'll set up array formations everywhere. I won't hide the array formations so that everyone could see them. If you can't hold on, you can go in and hide. After Yi Qianhua finished setting up the array formations, he immediately activated them. Okay. Knight Sorrow took out a storage ring and gave it to Yi Qianhua. However, Tai Shu Yin stopped him. She handed a storage ring to Yi Qianhua. Lu Qin and Yun Tianlong were both venerables. They could not participate in this war, so they were not here. The matter of resources was handled by Tai Shu Yin. Yi Qianhua continued to set up formations. He set up a large illusion formation, which meant that the enemy could also enter, but they couldn't attack. Both sides were blind in the illusion formation. Yi Shang asked the Candle Dragon to bring the Nether Beast Saint to identify them properly so that the plan would not be messed up. Knight Sorrow chatted with his parents for a while, telling them to pay attention to their safety. When everything was ready, the team split up. Ani Fei, Xueshi, you two have just become Saint Kings. Don't fight with people whose cultivation you can't see, Knight Sorrow said to Xueshi and Wu Lingfei. Wu Lingfei and Xueshi nodded. They were at the bottom of the Saint Kings. It was easy for them to kill a peak saint, but they weren't a match for other Saint Kings. Knight Sorrow, you haven't used the Golden Phoenix soft armor. Its power is different from before. It should be a mid-grade Saint treasure. It's still useful. You have to use it in battle, Wu Lingfei said to Knight Sorrow. Yishang reached out and touched the Golden Phoenix soft armor. He nodded. He already knew some things. The Golden Phoenix soft armor was Wu Lingfei's natal armor. It would increase in power as Wu Lingfei's cultivation increased. In the past, Wu Lingfei had said that there was only one possibility for the Golden Phoenix flexible armor to shatter. At that time, Night Sorrow did not understand, but now he knew. If Wu Lingfei did not die, then the Golden Phoenix flexible armor would not shatter. Of course, it was not invincible. If it exceeded the defensive strength of the Golden Phoenix soft armor, then the energy would penetrate the soft armor and hurt the target. Don't worry about using it. It won't harm Anifei. Even if a Saint King's attack can't be blocked, it can still weaken it a little. Wu Lingfei was worried that Night Sorrow would have misgivings and not use it, so she reminded him. Understand, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Actually, you don't have to worry about the dancing Saint King. This king won't be able to kill him even if he just stands there, Zhu Jiyun said. So powerful? Asked Wu Lingfei. It's true. Even if I attacked with my full strength, I could only exhaust his defensive energy. Zhu Jiyun nodded. Night Sorrow, how strong is your body's defensive strength? Asked Xueshi. She knew that Night Sorrow's body was very strong, but after Night Sorrow had become a Saint King, she wasn't sure how strong his body was. It's the same as my cultivation. It won't cause any special damage. A high-level Saint King won't be able to break through my body's defenses. Night Sorrow nodded. What do you mean by your body's defenses? Asked Zhu Jiyun. It means that if I don't use true qi or any other energy to protect my body, your attacks won't be able to break through my body. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He felt that the atmosphere was a little tense, so he wanted to encourage everyone. Then I'll try. Zhu Jiyun did not believe him. She had never seen Night Sorrow's body's defenses before. In the past, she had only used true qi and other defensive energy attacks to temper her cultivation. Then come. Don't ruin my robes. Night Sorrow loosened his robes a little, revealing his chest. Really? Don't joke around. Zhu Jiyun held her scimitar, not knowing whether to attack or not. I'm not joking. I'll also test it. Come on. Night Sorrow nodded. Seeing that Night Sorrow was very serious, Wu Lingfei and she did not stop him. Zhu Jiyun used her 5-star Saint King cultivation and slashed at Night Sorrow's chest. Night Sorrow did not use any defensive energy, so Zhu Jiyun's scimitar landed on his chest. Zhu Jiyun's attack caused the skin on Night Sorrow's chest to cave in a little. Then, it returned to normal. As a halo of energy appeared, Zhu Jiyun's scimitar was repelled. A 5-star saint can't break it. Use all your cultivation. I'll also test the strength of my body. Looking at the surprised Zhu Jiyun, Night Sorrow nodded again. Zhu Jiyun nodded and deathly primary energy flowed into his scimitar. Displaying his strongest cultivation base, he slashed at Yi Sorrow's chest once more. This time, black cracks appeared in space. It was clear to see just how powerful this attack was. But the scimitar did not manage to cut Night Sorrow's chest open. It was blocked by Night Sorrow's skin that was emitting a halo of time. It's okay, Night Sorrow said and tidied his robes. Long Xiansheng and the others were still fine. They had not reached the level of a high-level Saint King, so they did not know the strength of Zhu Jiyun's attack. But as the person involved, Zhu Jiyun knew the strength of his attack too well. But even so, Night Sorrow was unharmed. A 7-star Saint King can't hurt you. Zhu Jiyun looked at Night Sorrow, who had tidied his robes, and asked. They can't. So when we fight, I can attract some of the firepower. You all just have to be careful. Night Sorrow said. Commander, what's your cultivation? Black Dragon Saint looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Peak Saint King. Zhu Jiyun answered for Night Sorrow. Everyone don't worry. The rules of the 9 zones have been perfected. Those above the peak Saint King realm can't enter, and I can fight anyone below the King realm. So don't be too pressured. If you can't hold on, just retreat. I'll kill slowly. Night Sorrow said. Everyone nodded. If Saint King realm cultivators could not enter, then Night Sorrow, who was a peak Saint King, was invincible. Deputy Commander Tai Shu, should we have a drink and then have a good battle? Sky Underworld Saint looked at Xiaolan Jun and asked. Tai Shu Yin nodded and went to make the arrangements. Quick L, quick L. Quick LQ. Commander, we don't have much lifespan left. We can fight this 10,000-year calamity, but we'll have to rely on you next time. Shang Luo said. This is the last time. Night Sorrow looked at Shang Luo and said, but the ancient records say that every 10,000 years there will be a calamity. Xian Wenxiu looked at Night Sorrow and said, that's because our spatial world's level is low. It's suppressed by the profound heaven world. By chance, I refined a high-level world, and this high-level world merged with the Nine Zones world. As the Nine Zones world grows, it will become a high-level world. The profound heaven world cannot suppress it. Night Sorrow said, good, then there's nothing to worry about. Long Xianxing said, then let's fight. 1 is enough. 2 is a win. Flying Tiger Saint, who had already regrown his limbs, said, I'm wasting my breath. Just follow my strategy. Outside of the battlefield, you're my seniors, but here, you have to follow my strategy. I don't want to see anyone die. Night Sorrow roared at the Flying Tiger Saint without holding back. Speak. Chapter 953. Genius 1 second. Remember love. Go to LittleNet to provide you with some interesting reading. LSS Qingxiu 2. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Flying Tiger Saint bowed to Night Sorrow. He knew that his words conflicted with Night Sorrow's thoughts. Love. Go to LittleNet's. Night Sorrow's philosophy was that he didn't want any casualties. He put people first. The meat and wine are here. At this time, Taishu Yin brought people over to deliver the food and wine. In a moment, when everyone goes back, put down the teleportation formation crystal and completely seal off Sky-Bearing City. There won't be any chance of communication with the outside world, Yishan said as he watched Taishu Yin and the others come out of the teleportation formation. He had found this loophole. After the people delivering the resources delivered some more resources, Taishu Yin removed the teleportation formation and gave the teleportation crystal to Night Sorrow. It was safest in Night Sorrow's hands. Night Sorrow was invincible. Everyone else could die. 2 days later, a shadow appeared in the sky above Qingtian City. Then, the space began to tremble. Prepare for battle. Remember, if you can't hold on, come closer to me or enter the formation. After the battle, I hope that all of you are here. Night Sorrow stretched out his arm, and the reincarnation spear appeared in his hand. At the same time, the space-time pagoda appeared on his body. At this time, only his 3 fiancées were in the pagoda. As Night Sorrow spoke, the space above Qingtian City trembled violently. This was because the mysterious heaven world and the 9 regions world were clashing. The last time the 2 worlds clashed, cracks appeared in the 9 regions world. It seems that our 9 regions world is much more stable than it was 10,000 years ago, Yi Qianhua said as he looked at the sky. At this time, Shang Zhengchun was standing at the intersection of the mysterious heaven world and the 9 regions world with Gong Yanglai and a group of people. All right, let's go. Shang Zhengchun waved his arm and gave the order. This time, he brought 8 saint kings, 50 saints, and a great expert like Gong Yanglai. Shang Zhengchun felt that these people were enough. 2 peak stage saint kings, 6 mid-stage saint kings, and 50 high-level saints were definitely enough to massacre the entire 9 regions world. Furthermore, he himself was also a peak stage saint king. At this moment, he was still carrying a cage. Inside the cage was a man wearing a black stained long robe. Gong Yanglai waved the warblade in his hand, creating a spatial barrier. Then, he flew towards the 9-domain world. But in reality, the effect shocked Gong Yanglai. After he left the heaven profound world, he could not enter the 9-domain world. The space around him kept collapsing, and he was trapped in the turbulent flow of space. After failing to break through twice, Gong Yanglai returned to the heaven profound world. Commander Lai, what's going on? Shang Zhengchun asked. The 9 domains world principles have been strengthened, and this commander has been pushed into the void. No matter how this commander flies, the turbulence caused by the void collapses. Can you see if a Saint King can enter? Gong Yanglai said. Bo Qing is fearless. Give it a try, Bo Qing Han said to a middle-aged man. This time, the Bo Qing clan's patriarch, Bo Qing Han, and the third prince were in charge of this massacre. Bo Qing Han had brought a peak Saint King, Bo Qing Wu. He was a peak Saint King, but he did not want to go. He felt that as the patriarch of a large clan in the South Sky dynasty, he had to respect his status. He disdained to participate in this kind of thing. Yes. The middle-aged man with a mustache nodded to Bo Qing Han. He waved the sword in his hand and broke the spatial barrier. Then, he entered the nine-domain world. Third prince, this commander is helpless. You can only go by yourselves. A part of the nine-domain sources is in your hands. Just use it as you see fit, said Gong Yang Lai, who was wearing black armor and had a baleful look on his face. At this moment, he was very unhappy. Back then, when Clear Sky Saint King had forced him to retreat, he had planned to enter the nine-domain world to vent his anger. But now he did not have the chance. Okay. Shang Zhengchen nodded. He waved his sword and opened the spatial barrier. Then, he lifted the cage and led the people behind him into the nine-domain world. Seeing Bo Qing Wu, Shang Zhengchen nodded. Let's go. Shang Zhengchen and the others appeared in the sky above the Qingtian region. After flying for a while, they saw Night Sorrow and the others. Then, they landed on the ground. At this moment, Qingtian City was surrounded by white fog. The Great Cycle Formation and the Thousand Illusion Formation were activated and enveloped Qingtian City. This time, the defensive formation only enveloped Qingtian City. It did not have any attacking power inside Qingtian City. The main reason was that the nine-domain world did not have the ability or the resources to cover Qingtian City with formations. Shang Zhengchen and the others landed in Qingtian City's plaza. Looks like you're prepared. So what if you're prepared? I will turn the nine-domain world into ruins. It will become a dead world, Shang Zhengchen said to Night Sorrow and the others. Go. If words could kill, you would have done it, Night Sorrow replied coldly. Night Sorrow felt that the situation was very serious because the other side had 3 peak Saint Kings and 6 mid-level Saint Kings. The main thing now was to see if Zhu Juyun could handle 1 peak Saint King. He and his clone could only face 2 peak Saint Kings. This time is not as good as last time. Last time, there were 3 high-level Saint Kings. This time, there are only 2, Shang Zhengchen sneered. A debt of blood must be paid with blood. You will pay the price. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and looked at the cage beside Shang Zhengchen. Shameless boasting. Do you know this person? I heard that he's the ruler of the nine-domain world's Night Moon Dynasty. Are there any remnants of the Night Clan among you? Shang Zhengchen pulled the chains on the cage and made the person in the cage look up at the people from the nine-domain world. Moon Empress. Xiaolan Jun was shocked and astonished. Grandfather. Yi Linghuan roared angrily because he recognized the person in the cage. Hearing Yi Linghuan's words, the person in the cage opened his eyes and looked at Yi Linghuan. Linghuan, leave quickly. You're not their match. After hearing the conversation between the person in the cage and Yi Linghuan, as well as the way Xiaolan Jun addressed him, how could Night Sorrow not know who the person in the cage was? It was the Night Moon Dynasty's Moon Empress, Yi Tian. Night Sorrow grabbed Yi Linghuan, who was rushing forward. Let me handle this. You handle it? How will you handle it? Shang Zhengchen looked at Night Sorrow like a cat looking at a mouse. The nine-domain world only had 1 peak Saint King, Night Sorrow, so he was not worried. He wanted to see the struggle of Night Sorrow and the others. Didn't you want to turn the nine-domain world into ruins? In your eyes, we are all dead people. Then what's the point of keeping that cage? Night Sorrow asked. It's not very useful. It's just a joke. The nine-domain world is just a joke. Once I kill you all and find the shattered source of the nine-domain world, everything will end. Shang Zhengchen tossed the source stone that the nine-domain world had lost in his left hand. In his eyes, the nine-domain world was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Chapter 954. Genius 1 second remembers love go to the small net to provide you with interesting reading. LSS Qingxiu 2 when Shang Zhengchun took out the origin stone, Night Sorrow confirmed that it was the missing part of the Nine Regions world's origin. Therefore, he directly used the Nine Regions world's origin power and the law of nothingness to suppress it. Then, he controlled the Nine Regions world's origin pearls to cooperate with the law of nothingness to guide it. Fix it, Shang Zhengchun shouted when the origin stone left his hand. He used the law of nothingness to suppress the flying origin stone, and at the same time, he flew forward to grab it. Break! Night Sorrow roared and rushed forward. He controlled the law of nothingness that wrapped around the origin stone and shook it violently in all directions. It broke Shang Zhengchun's law of suppression and also shook the origin stone to fly towards Night Sorrow. At this time, Night Sorrow's glabella shone brightly. It wrapped around the origin stone that was flying towards him and pulled it into his spirit sea. Then, it entered the Nine Regions world's origin pearls and merged with them. With the merging of the Nine Regions world's origin pearls, the shaking in the air disappeared. Because of the merging of the origin pearls, the law of nothingness of the Nine Regions world was raised to another level. The Heaven Mysteries world could no longer suppress or shake it. At this time, Night Sorrow and Shang Zhengchun officially faced each other. Shang Zhengchun's green longsword slashed towards Night Sorrow. Most new chapters in Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and directly clashed with Shang Zhengchun's longsword. Then, both of them flew back. Night Sorrow controlled the origin stone to enter his body and did not use its full power. Therefore, this move was a draw. Kill! Shang Zhengchun roared. He was already furious. Because he was careless, he had suffered a loss. The origin stone was snatched away by Night Sorrow. With Shang Zhengchun's order, the people of the Heaven Mysteries world moved. They started to attack the Nine Regions world's camp. Bo Qing fearlessly charged toward Night Sorrow. He wanted to join forces with Shang Zhengchun to kill Night Sorrow, because Night Sorrow was the only peak stage Saint King in the Nine Regions world. Night Sorrow gritted his teeth. His body shook, and his soul doppelganger appeared. Then, with a flash, it charged toward another peak stage Saint King. He planned to let his main body withstand the pressure, and then let the Nine Hell King and his doppelganger make the first move. This way, the situation would be easier to control. The battle began. When enemies met, their eyes blazed with hatred. Both sides fought fiercely. The three peak Holy Kings were all taken care of by Night Sorrow. Zhu Juyun himself and his doppelganger rushed toward the opponent's middle Holy King. Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu also rushed toward the opponent's middle Holy King. They were 4-star Holy Kings, and their cultivation levels were not as high as the opponent's. However, they could still hold on. They could see the situation. As long as they could hold on, it would be fine. Xue Shi and Wu Lingfei both faced a middle Holy King, but at this time, there was still one more middle Holy King that no one stopped. Realizing the problem, the Nine Hell King's true body flashed and directly blocked the mid-level Holy Kings who were not obstructing them. Like Yi Shang, her true body was fighting 1 against 2, and her doppelganger was also suppressing 1. In a battle between saints, the Nine Regions world was also at a disadvantage. This was because the opponent had 50 saints, and their strength was too strong. If you can't hold on, then enter the array. Night Sorrow opened his mouth and shouted. In this battle, the deciding factor was the Saint King level. Therefore, he did not want any saints to die. Night Sorrow's main body was suppressing Bo Qing fearlessly. This was because Bo Qing was slightly weaker than Shang Zhengchun. Now, he wanted to kill the weaker Saint King and expand his advantage. Shang Zhengchun and Bo Qing fearlessly were very shocked. This was because Night Sorrow was too strong. Neither of them could withstand his attacks. Night Sorrow's power of rules suppressed them very strongly. If it was not 2 against 1, they would be defeated in a moment. Night Sorrow also knew that as long as his main body could control Shang Zhengchun and Bo Qing fearlessly, it would be fine. This was because his doppelganger would soon have a breakthrough and possess 90% of his main body strength. The opponent would not be able to withstand his doppelganger's powerful attacks. For Knight's Sorrow, the difference between his main body and his doppelganger was only 10% of his strength, and without the light of merit. The difference in combat strength was not big. In addition, his doppelganger could also use the world's origin power to suppress. During the battle, Knight's Sorrow also observed the surrounding situation. He realized that Zhu Juyun's main body was under the greatest pressure. She had just become a 7-star saint. Fighting 2 6-star Holy Kings head-on was still very stressful. However, her doppelganger had an absolute advantage. However, as the battle continued, the 9-domain saint level fell into a disadvantage. This was because the opponent had too many saints and their levels were very high. Knight's Sorrow was a little impatient. This was because he had family members among the saints. At this moment, Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger began to attack without defending. He wanted to establish an advantage as soon as possible. Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger attacked wildly. His opponent could not withstand it. The strength of Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger was far superior to his. In addition, he could use the 9 domains origin power to suppress. His opponent could not withstand it. When Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger used a soul destruction slash to attack the opponent's divine ocean, it followed up with a void extreme kill, annihilating the opponent's neck region. Just as this peak stage Holy King soul was about to leave his body and escape, Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger used a spatial crack to cut through space, directly shattering his soul and head. After killing his opponent, Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger kept the storage rings and weapons of the dead. Then, he rushed toward Zhu Juyun's main body's opponent. He wanted to resolve Zhu Juyun's crisis first and release her at the same time. That way, Zhu Juyun's main body would have the ability to crush the other mid-level Holy Kings. Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger could kill a peak stage Holy King. Killing a mid-level Holy King was a matter of moments. After a few consecutive shots, he used a soul destruction slash. Then he finished off the mid-level peak stage Holy King with another shot. After that, Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger took over another opponent of Zhu Juyun's main body and began to attack violently. He did not defend at all. A 6-star Holy King could not break through his body's defense. After a few shots, he finished off his opponent again. Ignoring Zhu Juyun's main body and doppelganger, who were suppressing a mid-level Holy King, Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger rushed toward Wu Lingfei and Xueshi. They were both 1-star Holy Kings. Now that they were being suppressed by their opponents, they could die at any time. Therefore, he was anxious, seeing Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger rushing over. This mid-level Holy King's soul almost left his body. He had seen how Knight's Sorrow killed a peak stage Holy King. How could he withstand it? Feeling fear, he turned and ran. Can you run? Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger used the world's origin laws to suppress him, directly reducing his speed. Then, he used a void extreme kill to destroy his body. After wrapping the dead person's storage ring and weapon into the storage ring, Knight's Sorrow's doppelganger rushed toward the main body's battlefield. At this moment, Shang Zhengchun had become berserk. His battle prowess rose sharply, and he was a threat to Knight's Sorrow's main body. Moreover, with his continuous violent attacks, he had already turned the situation around. Long Xuanqing's main body was a dragon turtle. His natal holy treasure was a defensive treasure. There was no problem with his safety. Xian Wenxiu also had a defensive high-grade holy treasure. Although his attacks were being suppressed, there was no risk of him being killed for the time being. In addition, Xueshi and Wu Lingfei were both released. This was a nightmare for the saints of the Heaven Profound World. Chapter 955. It could be said that the situation of the battle had changed from the moment Knight's Sorrow's soul clone killed that peak stage Saint King. The moment his opponent was killed, the 9 regions world's victory tilted towards them. Knight's Sorrow's soul clone blocked Bo Qing Wu Wei, while his main body fought against Shang Zhengchun, whose battle prowess had skyrocketed. He wanted to save Yi Tian. That was his ancestor. He could not watch Yi Tian suffer anymore. The moment he saw Yi Tian, Night Sorrow was very touched. Yi Tian was too pitiful. Night Moon's White King battle armor was covered in black spots. What were the black spots? They were dried blood stains. The chains had pierced through his limbs and locked onto his bones. Just thinking about the pain made one's heart tremble. What touched Night Sorrow the most was Yi Tian's unyielding gaze. However, Shang Zhengchun had a spatial treasure on him. The moment he fought with Night Sorrow, he kept the cage. Thus, Night Sorrow wanted to kill him. Only by killing him could he save Yi Tian. The battle continued. People died continuously. There were also people from the 9 regions world dying. True Sea Saint died in battle. Black Dragon Saint died in battle. Nether Beast Saint died in battle. This was a situation that had not happened for long after the battle had started. Many of the saints that had descended from the heaven profound world were high-level saints. They were of a higher level than the 9 domain world's honorables. Being targeted by 2 high-level saints meant certain death. The situation changed after Night Sorrow finished off his opponent. That was because he released a few Saint Kings. Wu Lingfei's main body and soul clone chased after the saints from the heaven profound world and massacred them. Xuexi was the same. Her speed was at its peak. If anyone on her side was in danger, she could save them in time. After Zhu Jiyun finished off her opponent, the situation completely tilted towards the 9 regions world. Her main body and soul clone took care of Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu, allowing the 2 of them to kill the saints from the heaven profound world. Kuei Long, Shang Zhengchun, who was being suppressed by Night Sorrow's main body, roared. Following that, a humanoid beast appeared and attacked Night Sorrow's main body together with him. A peak stage Saint King beast. Night Sorrow saw its cultivation level. This ferocious beast that had the same body as Xiao Lu was a peak stage Saint King. After releasing the beast, Shang Zhengchuan's eyes were bloodshot, and he joined the beast in attacking Night Sorrow. "Damn it," he said. "I had a chance to refine your core, nascent soul, into an out-of-body incarnation. You're going to die today." Night Sorrow's protective barrier changed to the spatial attribute. He dodged the Berserk Kuei Long and attacked Shang Zhengchun. After all, Shang Zhengchun was Kuei Long's master. At this time, the battle between Night Sorrow's avatar and Bo Qing Fearless was about to end. With 90% of the original body strength, Night Sorrow wasn't someone that Bo Qing Fearless could resist. After a while, Bo Qing Fearless was killed by Night Sorrow's avatar. At this time, there were only sporadic battles. This was because most of the saints had been killed by the Saint Kings from the 9 regions world camp. This king will bring reinforcements later. All of you will die. Seeing that they had lost the battle, Shang Zhengchun didn't plan to continue fighting with Night Sorrow. He wasn't a match for Night Sorrow in the first place. Furthermore, after Night Sorrow's avatar killed Bo Qing Fearless, it blocked Kuei Long. Shang Zhengchun's body flashed as he flew towards the sky. He wanted to break through the spatial barrier and return to the heaven profound world. Not only did he want to go back to get reinforcements, he also wanted to escape. How could Night Sorrow let him escape? He chased after him. He wanted to kill Shang Zhengchun, but he also wanted to save Yi Tian. Night Sorrow also knew what Shang Zhengchuan's spatial treasure was. It was a golden drum that he had always used for defense. The golden drum's defense was very strong. Night Sorrow couldn't break through it a few times. After that, Night Sorrow dodged the drum and attacked Shang Zhengchun. It was the 9 regions' origin energy that told Night Sorrow not to attack the drum. This was because once the drum was broken, everything inside would be destroyed. Night Sorrow definitely wouldn't be able to survive. Chapter J, the latest chapter with the drum's defense. Shang Zhengchuan's escape was much smoother. Heaven profound world. Not good. I'll go inform the Emperor. Bo Qing clan's peak Saint King Bo Qing Fearless has died. Many saints' life tablets have shattered. When Bo Qing Fearless was killed, Bo Qinghan's expression changed. He hurriedly left some instructions to Gong Yang Lai and left the spatial barrier. A peak Saint King dying in the Nine Regions world was a big matter. It could very well threaten Shang Zhengchuan's safety. In the Tianan Empire's main hall, Bo Qinghan bowed and explained the situation. At this time, the emperor bathed in flames appeared in the main hall. He then followed Bo Qinghan to the edge of the spatial barrier. Gong Yang Lai, pass down this king's order. Gather all the peak Saint Kings here. I don't believe that the Nine Regions world can withstand our slaughter. Bo Qinghan, when they arrive, you lead the team. I understand. Bo Qinghan bowed. He had just thought of going directly, but Bo Qing's fearless death made him timid. If they could kill Bo Qing fearless, then they could be a threat to him. The king's realm can't be entered. It looks like the Nine Regions world has recovered. The emperor narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction of the Nine Regions world through the spatial barrier. After a while, Gong Yang Lai brought a few peak Saint Kings over. They were the experts of the Tianan Empire's imperial city. Set off, the emperor, bathed in the light of the fire, ordered. As Bo Qinghan tore through space and started attacking, a problem appeared. Because he was entering spatial turbulence, he couldn't enter the Nine Regions world. What's going on? Saint Kings could still enter before. Bo Qinghan's expression changed. If Saint Kings couldn't enter, then they couldn't interfere with the Nine Regions world. The Nine Regions world has changed greatly. Since we can't enter, we can only wait and see. The emperor glanced at Bo Qinghan. He was very dissatisfied with Bo Qinghan because he hadn't followed Shang Zhengchun to the Nine Regions world. Emperor, it's my fault. Gong Yang Lai bowed. It's not your fault that you can't enter. My son has the sky drum to protect him. Only the king's realm can threaten his safety, said the man bathed in flames. Emperor, it's my fault. Bo Qinghan hurriedly bowed. The emperor had said that it wasn't his fault that Gong Yang Lai couldn't enter, so it was naturally his fault that Bo Qinghan could enter. Don't worry about it, replied the emperor emotionlessly. Night Sorrow was still chasing Shang Zhengchun. He was very angry. If it hadn't been for the golden drum, it wouldn't have been very difficult for him to kill Shang Zhengchun. Now that he couldn't attack the drum, it wouldn't be easy for him to kill Shang Zhengchun. When he reached the edge of the formation enveloping sky-bearing city, Shang Zhengchun directly used the drum to open a path and charge through. Seeing the spatial barrier getting closer and closer, Night Sorrow was furious. He used his spatial protective barrier and spatial laws to block Shang Zhengchuan's path to the spatial barrier. Then he attacked with a spear. Seeing Night Sorrow blocking his path, Shang Zhengchun directly used the golden drum to block Night Sorrow's attack path. Then he flashed to find an opening in the path Night Sorrow had blocked. He was certain that he wasn't a match for Night Sorrow. If he didn't run, only death would await him. Night Sorrow planned to stop Shang Zhengchun first. As long as Shang Zhengchun couldn't escape, he would have a chance to save Yi Tian. He didn't want to see Yi Tian being tortured again. While Night Sorrow and Shang Zhengchun were fighting, Zhu Jiun, who had dealt with all the people from the heaven-profound world, rushed over. She knew that she couldn't help, but she was worried. Speak. Chapter 956. With Night Sorrow blocking his escape route, Shang Zhengchun controlled the drum to suppress Night Sorrow. Then, he crushed a message crystal to ask for help. That was his father's message crystal. He was worried about his own safety. If Kuei Long was killed and Night Sorrow's clone dared to come, he would definitely die. Standing in front of the spatial barrier, the Overlord's body shook. Then, he waved his right hand in front of him and cut open the space. Then, he tore with both hands and expanded the spatial crack infinitely. He could feel that Shang Zhengchun was very close to him, just across from the spatial barrier. Come out! The Overlord roared and stretched out his right hand. A huge energy hand entered the nine-domain world. The energy hand created a huge vortex that wrapped around Shang Zhengchun and the golden drum at the same time. Then, Shang Zhengchun and the golden drum were pulled out of the nine-domain world. Night Sorrow waved the space-time pagoda and smashed it towards Shang Zhengchun. He did not dare to destroy the golden drum, but he definitely could not let Shang Zhengchun escape. At this time, Night Sorrow attacked with the power of the nine-domain origin law. With the support of the space-time pagoda and the nine-domain origin law, the vortex energy was shattered and Shang Zhengchun was sent out of the spatial crack. The golden drum was taken away, which made Night Sorrow very angry. Whether Shang Zhengchun killed him or not was secondary. He was angry that he did not save Yi Tian, the ancestor of the Night Clan. Although he was angry, Night Sorrow kept attacking Shang Zhengchun with his spear, forcing Shang Zhengchun to retreat. Without the protection of the drum, Shang Zhengchun was not on the same level as him. In a short time, Night Sorrow had severely injured Shang Zhengchun. Then he smashed the space-time pagoda, causing Shang Zhengchun to spit out blood. With a low roar, Night Sorrow chased after Shang Zhengchun and broke his four limbs. Then, he carried the energy hand Zhu Jiyun to Night Sorrow's side. A King Realm expert. My energy and laws cannot suppress him. What's next? Night Sorrow's expression was very ugly. After the battle ended, my original body was outside the array formation leading the way. However, my doppelganger rushed over, Zhu Jun said. At this moment, she had sent her doppelganger over. How am I supposed to answer to Grandpa and parents if I didn't save the Moon Empress? Night Sorrow was very angry. Let's continue to prepare for the battle. Maybe they will send more people over, Zhu Jun said. At that moment, Night Sorrow's body paused. The nine regions' origin energy told him that the enemy's Saint Ruler could not enter. After Night Sorrow snatched back the light-type origin stone, the nine regions' world's origin energy was complete. Coupled with the law of nothingness as the core, the laws of nothingness had increased once more. Night Sorrow explained the situation to Zhu Jiyun. That means the Nine Zones world is safe. The only regret is that we did not manage to save the Moon Queen. Zhu Jiyun looked at Night Sorrow and did not know how to persuade him. I will think of a way to save her. Let's go back first, Night Sorrow said. At this moment, the joy of victory in his heart had been diluted. It was mainly because Yi Tian's current situation was too miserable. After Night Sorrow carried Shang Zhengchun and Zhu Jiyun through the array, he flew back to the plaza of Sky-Bearing City. At this moment, the plaza was littered with corpses. Most of them were from the Heaven Profound world. There were also Nether Beast saints who did not fear death. Night Sorrow slowly walked in front of Yi Linghuan and Yi Wuyo. I'm sorry. I was unable to save the Moon Empress' great ancestor. It's not your fault. It was not easy to win this battle. The enemy was too strong. Yi Linghuan was in a bad mood. When he was young, the Moon Empress had hugged him and accompanied him in cultivation. They had a very deep relationship. However, it doesn't matter. I caught the leader. Raise your head. I don't know your name. If you want to live, I want to save her. Night Sorrow threw Shang Zhengchun to the ground. Then hurry up and trade with my father. In a while, the two spatial worlds will shift. It will be very difficult to break through space. It will be very troublesome to communicate through the Wuji world. Shang Zhengchun was also very anxious. The Nine Zones world was just a subsidiary world. Its value could not be compared to his own. He was naturally worried about his own safety. Night Sorrow thought for a moment. Then, he brought Yi Linghuan, his parents, and Long Xiansheng through the array. They arrived in front of the spatial barrier. He casually sent out a strand of void, true qi, to seal Shang Zhengchun's cultivation. Then, he threw him to Yi Linghuan. Night Sorrow sent out two spears to break through the spatial barrier. It was not difficult for Night Sorrow to break through the spatial barrier of the Nine Zones world. However, it was not easy to cut through the spatial barrier of the profound heaven world. Without Yi Shang's control, the spatial barrier was not closed by the people from the heaven profound world. However, Yi Shang also felt that the distance between the two worlds had increased. If you want this peak holy king to live, then hand over that person. Night Sorrow shouted. Hand over the person? The Emperor bathed in flames did not understand what Night Sorrow meant. Above Gong Yang Lai bowed and told the Emperor of the profound heaven dynasty that he had given Shang Zhengchun a prisoner. All right, hand him over to this Emperor first. This Emperor will naturally return him to you. The emperor, bathed in flames, shouted at the spatial turbulence. Shang Tianfeng was extremely angry. He had been the emperor of the profound Heaven dynasty for tens of thousands of years, and he had never been so passive. No one could bargain with him, but now that his son was in Knight Sorrow's hands, he could only negotiate. No, I have to take him first before I can release him. Knight Sorrow shouted at the spatial rift. Impossible. This emperor must take him first. Shang Tianfeng's words were filled with killing intent. Dream on. He's wearing a light yellow robe. He must be the core of your profound Heaven dynasty. Don't negotiate with me. Give me that golden drum right now, and I'll release him. Knight Sorrow naturally knew that Shang Zhengquan's identity was not simple, so he insisted. This was his bargaining chip. If you want to negotiate like this, then there's no way we can negotiate. Shang Tianfeng could not give him the sky drum. That would put him in a passive position. If you don't release him, then you want him to go back? That's impossible. Knight Sorrow did not care who was negotiating with him. As the two of them were in a stalemate, the spatial rift between the two worlds became smaller and smaller until it closed. That's all there is to his value. Grandfather will take him down. Torture him however you can. Knight Sorrow was helpless when he failed to exchange for the person. He could not compromise, because if he handed him over first, it might be all for naught. Don't torture me. My soul clone will torture him. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Shang Zhengquan, whose limbs were all broken, was somewhat anxious. There's no harm in telling you. I have a way to determine that person's aura. If his condition is not good, I will know. It's not that I don't want to give you a chance. I need to feel that person's well. If his life aura continues to wither, then don't live. I don't believe I can't save him, Knight Sorrow said coldly. Shang Zhengquan agreed. He had to agree. This situation made Yi Linghuan feel more at ease. Although he couldn't save the person, he still had a bargaining chip in his hand. Knight Sorrow brought a few people back to Sky Bearing City. Then, he removed the Great Formation and began to wrap up the war. True Ocean Sage and Black Dragon Sage's deaths made Knight Sorrow's heart ache. But this was war. We will set up a steal. Everything will be arranged, Tai Shu Yin said to Knight Sorrow. She knew that the matter of the Moon Empress still had some impact on Knight Sorrow. Speak. Fourth watch. Chapter 9:57. Take care of the aftermath. The people who died in battle are all heroes of the Nine Regions world. We have to treat them well, said Knight Sorrow. We will. Don't worry. Tai Shu Yin and the others nodded. Knight Sorrow, don't worry. You can sense the Moon Empress's aura. Once her aura weakens, kill her. I don't believe she won't treat the Moon Empress well, said Yi Linghuan as he looked at Shang Zhengquan. Knight Sorrow nodded. In truth, this made him feel more at ease. The other side wouldn't dare to torture Shang Zhengquan anymore. After all, Shang Zhengquan was in his hands. Commander, should we call back Sky Bearing City's people now? Asked Tai Shuyan. Although they don't dare come, we'll wait for a while longer just to be safe, said Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow guessed that the other side wouldn't send anyone else, but he couldn't take the risk. Then Knight Sorrow and Yi Qianhua began to withdraw the formation. There was no need for it. The Heaven Profound World's Saint Kings couldn't enter, so they wouldn't casually send people into the Nine Regions world. That was just sending them to their deaths. Just at this moment, the sky shattered once more, and a saint appeared above Sky Bearing City. You really dare come to court death? Knight Sorrow raised a spear about to kill. Don't. My imperial father tore open space and sent my guard here. She brought a mother-son communication crystal. You can confirm the safety of your Yi clan member at any time. Don't attack me. Seeing that Knight Sorrow was about to kill, Shang Zhengquan hastily called out. You're smart. If you can guarantee the safety of my Yi clan, I won't kill you. Instead, I'll let you live a better life. Hand over the crystal and scram, said Knight Sorrow coldly. I'm staying behind to take care of my prince, said the Peak Saint. Just be an ordinary person. Knight Sorrow's left hand spun, grabbing this saint to his side. He sent out a ray of energy with his left hand, sealing her Dantian. Night Sorrow put away the spiritual avatar that had been preparing for battle after killing Kuei Long and collecting the materials. He merged it with his main body. In a profound heaven world, there were many people standing in front of the spatial barrier. Shang Zhengshun was also there, but he was just a clone that could only transmit messages. Father, things can be stabilized for now, Shang Zhengshun said. It's fine as long as they're stable. We'll think of a way to make a deal. Let's go back. Shang Tianfeng's figure flashed, and he left. He was very angry because the Tianan Empire had suffered a double loss in this massacre. He didn't mind losing some men, but he was very angry that his son had been captured. Inside the palace, Shang Tianfeng sat on the main seat. Gong Yang Lai, you're in charge of looking after that prisoner. Don't let anything happen to him. This concerns the third prince's safety. This subordinate will deal with it properly. Gong Yang Lai bowed. Bo Qinghan, I put you and the third prince in charge of handling this matter, but you actually cowered and let the third prince fall. Are you more honorable than my son? Shang Tianfeng looked at Bo Qinghan. I wouldn't dare. I was wrong. Bo Qinghan knelt on the ground. He understood Shang Tianfeng's methods. Commit suicide as an apology, and I won't pursue the matter with your family. Also, prepare for war. I don't believe we can't deal with the 9 regions world. Shang Tianfeng left the palace. He had basically announced Bo Qinghan's fate, and no one in the Tianan Empire dared to go against him. Go back and tell them that Bo Qinghan will commit suicide in 3 days. Bo Qinghan sighed and left the palace. However, there were imperial guards in the palace, and they wouldn't give him a chance to escape. Within the 9 regions world sky-bearing city, Night Sorrow and Yi Qianhua removed the formation. Night Sorrow, can you let me interrogate that person in a bit? I want to know who the current ruler of the Tianan Empire is. Yi Qianhua looked at Night Sorrow after removing the formation. The only genuine copy of I was V, while the others were Q. Pirated copy K, sure. He should be a direct descendant of the Tianan Empire, but we can't kill him for now because the Moon Empress is still in their hands, said Night Sorrow. I won't kill him. He's just a prince, so there's not much meaning to it. Yi Qianhua nodded. Night Sorrow put away the 1,000 derivation illusory formation around sky-bearing city. He Shang and the others also removed the heavenly cycle formation. A few days later, sky-bearing city's people returned under the arrangements of the commander's manor. They had been arranged to be in a nearby city, so they were able to teleport back. Night Sorrow brought Yi Qianhua to the commander's manor. After asking around, he learned that Yi Linghuan had brought Shang Zhengchun to Night Moon City to be imprisoned. Right now, the commander's manor's people should focus on recovering from the battle. Focus on the resources in the Nether Realm, said Night Sorrow. Yes. Tai Shu Yin, Yin Tianlong, Jun Xuanji, and the others all bowed. The other thing is to ensure the safety of the families and descendants of the people who died in battle. If they don't have any morals, directly wipe them out, ordered Night Sorrow. After confirming that he hadn't missed anything, Night Sorrow returned to Sky City. He placed the space-time pagoda next to the lake and brought Yi Qianhua to Night Moon City. In Night Moon City, Night Sorrow saw that the higher-ups of Night Moon City were all present. Seeing Night Sorrow, everyone nodded. Although Night Sorrow's seniority was low, his strength and prestige were there for all to see. Where are the hostages? Asked Night Sorrow. Their cultivation bases have been sealed, and one of them is heavily injured. They're in a pavilion in the back, said Yi Linghuan. This person is related to the Moon Empress's safety. I'll take care of him in the future, said Night Sorrow. At that moment, the emperors of Night Moon City all stood up and cupped their hands to Night Sorrow. They were all very worried about Yi Tian's safety because he was their father. I'll do my best. In addition, the spatial laws of Night Moon City will be strengthened. Whether or not the unrivaled sovereigns can enter the Saint Realm will depend on their own luck, said Night Sorrow. This was the care given to the Night Moon dynasty, who had contributed greatly to the 9-domain world after the 9-domain world was completed. Yi Shunxian and the others nodded. They didn't have any way to save Yi Tian right now, so they could only hope that Night Sorrow would come. Everyone, don't worry. The Moon Empress is imprisoned, but she won't be tortured anymore. This crystal ball can see the Moon Empress's situation at any time. If there's a problem, come and find me. Night Sorrow comforted the emperors and handed the crystal ball to Yi Xinyue. The Moon Empress won't be suffering now. You don't have to be too anxious. Be careful, said Yi Shunxian as he looked at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. Under the guidance of the emperors, Night Sorrow saw Shang Zhengchun and his guard and maid in a pavilion. Take him and follow me, said Night Sorrow to Shang Zhengchun's maid. The maid also understood the situation. She carried Shang Zhengchun and followed behind Night Sorrow. After arriving at Sky City, Night Sorrow arranged for them to stay in a pavilion. He and Yi Qianhua sat across from Shang Zhengchun and the maid. I have some questions for you right now. I hope you'll tell me the truth. After this, as long as my people are doing well, I won't disturb you. I'll let you live peacefully until the replacement, said Night Sorrow. Okay. Shang Zhengchun didn't want to provoke Night Sorrow right now because the Tiannan dynasty was already arranging for the replacement. He didn't want to provoke Night Sorrow and make him suffer. Speak. Chapter 958. The next question was asked by Yi Tianhua. When he found out that the king of Tiannan Empire was Shang Tianfeng, Yi Qianhua clenched his fists and his body trembled. After calming himself down, Yi Qianhua asked a few more questions before leaving the pavilion. Night Sorrow set up 1,000 derivation illusionary array outside the pavilion and communicated with Yi Qianhua while setting up the array. Shang Tianfeng was the one who forced my parents to their deaths. It's good that he's still alive. I'm afraid that he's dead. Yi Qianhua said, he's at least a king realm cultivator. Otherwise, he would have reached the end of his lifespan. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, yes, Tiannan Empire Shang clan is a clan with a long history. Their innate bloodline is berserk and can instantly increase their fighting strength by 30%. How strong is the king realm? Back then, they were afraid of our Yi clan, which was why they schemed. Yi Qianhua was very disdainful of the Shang clan. After setting up the array, Night Sorrow brought Yi Qianhua to his residence and brewed a pot of tea. Next, they will take action. After all, that's a prince. Yi Qianhua looked at Night Sorrow and said. After Night Sorrow and Yi Qianhua communicated for a while, they estimated that the other party would think of a way to come to the 9 regions world from the Wuji world. After listening to Yi Qianhua's explanation, Night Sorrow also knew some things. The Great 1,000 Worlds were all in operation, but there was still a way to connect them. That was the Inter-Realm Teleportation Array. It required a top-grade teleportation crystal. The Wuji world and the Heaven Mystic world had such teleportation arrays. The Wuji world was a subsidiary world of the Heaven Mystic world, but its form was very detached. The Wuji world's Realm Lord's Palace had established a power in the Heaven Mystic world. They set up a teleportation array, and the life forms of the Wuji world could enter the Heaven Mystic world freely to explore and train. However, if the people of the Heaven Mystic world wanted to teleport to the Wuji world, they would have to go through an inspection. If they couldn't pass the inspection, they wouldn't be allowed to enter. If they forcefully entered, they would be killed. Furthermore, experts wouldn't take this risk. No one knew what cultivation level the Limitless World's World Lord was at. If he was at the King Realm, then if they fought in his world, the other King Realm experts would also be killed. Night Sorrow, actually in the Sky Profound world, which is 1,000 times bigger than the 9 domain worlds, the King Realm is extremely rare. The King Realm is a first-rate force. Yi Qianhua said to Night Sorrow, we don't know how many King Realm experts there are in the Tiannan dynasty, but that Shang Tianfeng is definitely one, Night Sorrow said. Back then, I was still young, but I knew that my father was at the King Realm, while my grandfather and mother were at the Half-Step King Realm. At that time, Shang Tianfeng was only a high-level Saint King, so he felt threatened and did something despicable. Yi Qianhua's face was filled with memories. There was both happiness and pain in his memories. We don't know what kind of methods they will use to make a deal with us, but I will be cautious. If there is even the slightest risk, we won't make a deal. In any case, their King Realm and Saint King Realm experts can't enter the 9 domain worlds, Knight's Sorrow said. They will probably communicate with the Limitless World's World Lord Palace and then make a deal, Yi Qianhua said his idea. Knight's Sorrow, you could try to see if your nihility law can isolate the Limitless World's source from probing. If it can, then you can enter the Limitless World in advance, or even enter the Heaven Mystic World to set up an ambush. If there's a chance, save them. If there is no chance, talk about the deal, Yi Qianhua said. I need to make 2 preparations, Knight's Sorrow said. Yes, that Shang Tianfeng's character is cunning and changeable. After suffering a loss this time, he will not let it go. He will definitely take revenge on the 9 domain worlds. As for what methods he will use, is hard to say. If he can save Yi Tian and hold a hostage, that will be the safest, Yi Qianhua said. Then I will think about it carefully, Knight's Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Yi Qianhua then said goodbye to Knight's Sorrow and went to the space-time treasure pagoda to cultivate. Knight's Sorrow thought. After listening to Yi Qianhua's analysis, he knew that the Heaven Mystic World's Tian Nan dynasty would not give up after this massacre. You plan to go to the profound Heaven World? If you want to go, then go. You have an avatar in the Heaven-Sealing Great Hall, which means that you are undying and indestructible. The other 9 regions have just begun to develop, and everything is not mature yet. They cannot provide you with any help in your growth. The 9 regions' origin body communicated with Yi Shan. As they continued to communicate, Knight's Sorrow learned that the 9 domain worlds were currently unable to produce a King Realm cultivator. That was because the spatial world had only been formed for a short period of time. Its laws had just been completed, and the will of heaven and earth was not strong enough. Cultivators were unable to comprehend the will of heaven and earth. This was also the reason why Yi Qianhua had been unable to reach the King Realm even after cultivating for several lifetimes. Actually, your growth is the growth of the 9 domain worlds. The 9 domain origin body communicated with Knight's Sorrow. Knight's Sorrow nodded. He knew that he had to leave the 9 domain worlds. He had to deal with Yi Tian's matter, as well as his own growth. This was related to the future of the 9 domain worlds. While Knight's Sorrow was thinking, a group of people came to his residence. His parents, Wu Lingfei, Xue Shi, and his 3 wives had all come. Knight's Sorrow, don't feel pressured. The Moon Empress is doing well. They've already healed her and changed her treatment, said Yi Wuyo. I know. No matter how good her life is, she's still a prisoner. No matter what, we still have to rescue her. It's just that we don't need to be in such a rush, said Knight's Sorrow. You have to attend the funerals of the True Sea Sage and the Black Dragon Sage. You can't delay the others just because Night Moon is busy, said Yu Qing to Knight's Sorrow. Mother, I understand. Knight's Sorrow nodded. Also, we have to hold a celebration. The 9 domain worlds withstood the calamity of slaughter. That was a problem that had never been solved before. Now that it has been resolved, the people of the Commander's Manor are all suggesting that we hold a celebration, said Yiling Huan. We should. Knight's Sorrow nodded. He felt that the deaths of the True Sea Sage and the Black Dragon Sage were regretful, but he couldn't deny the results of this battle. At this moment, the 9 domain origin, Qi, sent a message to Knight's Sorrow. The True Sea Sage and the Black Dragon Sage's souls had not been destroyed. They would reincarnate. However, because their souls had been heavily injured, their consciousnesses had already disappeared. As for whether or not they could awaken, that would depend on fate. Last time, during the Great Massacre Calamity, the origin of the 9 domains had been shattered and could not protect anyone's soul. Therefore, all the Saint Kings and Saints had perished. However, this time was different. Yi Shang had snatched the Light Origin Stone, and the 9 domains world's laws were complete. He could take care of the living beings of a 9 domains world to a certain extent. Unless their souls had been destroyed, there was no possibility of reincarnation. This made Knight's Sorrow very happy. He exerted force with his hand and crushed the table beside him. Original page. What is it? Seeing Night Sorrow lose his composure, Yiling Huan and the others stood up. They didn't understand what had happened because Night Sorrow had been very calm these past few years. Speak. Chapter 9:59. Sorry, I got too excited. I just received news from the Nine Realms Essences that True Ocean Saint and Black Dragon Saint haven't completely perished. They still have a chance to reincarnate, but they've lost their wills and consciousness, said Night Sorrow. That's great, Yiling Huan said happily. The deaths of True Sea Saint and Black Dragon Saint could be said to be the pain and heartache of the nine-domain world. Knowing that the two of them were still alive in this world, everyone felt a little more at ease. This also shows that in future battles, soul defense and soul attacks will be very important. If there are no secret techniques, I'll think of something, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. Everyone nodded. While they were chatting, the higher-ups of the commander's residence also came to Night Sorrow's residence. Fortunately, Night Sorrow's residence was big enough to accommodate some people. Why is everyone here? Night Sorrow greeted them with a smile. If we didn't come, you wouldn't have gone to the commander's residence, Tai Shu Yin said with a smile. It's not a big deal now. You can deal with it as you see fit, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Commander, I plan to step down. After entering the Saint Realm, there won't be any bottlenecks for a period of time. I have to seize the time to cultivate, Tai Shu Yin said. That's true. Then let's make some arrangements. Elder June will be promoted to Vice Commander. What about you, Zhu Jian? Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Jian. I want to cultivate. I need to reach the peak of the Saint King realm. The Nether Realm's Cloud-Slashing King can do some things. You can make the arrangements, Zhu Jiyun said. Yishang thought for a moment, then looked at Yin Tianlong and Jun Xuanji and made the arrangements. That's fine. Vice Commander Yun and Vice Commander Jun notify Zhu Yun King to become an elder in the commander's residence. Afterward, Xiaolan Jun, who is the supreme elder of the commander's residence, asked about the arrangements for the Saint Crystals obtained from this war. High-level venerables and venerables with potential will be arranged first. Venerables who have fought bitterly for the Nine Regions world will have priority, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Night Sorrow's arrangements were very reasonable. My only regret is the death of my two old friends and the imprisonment of the Moon Empress, Xiaolan Jun said. Night Sorrow shook his head and told him about True Ocean Saint and Black Dragon Saint souls not being destroyed, and that Night Sky was doing well. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone felt more at ease. Lu Qin then said that the resources she obtained this time were only some healing pills and some resources that could instantly replenish energy. There were almost no resources that could assist in cultivation. These resources will be used as strategic reserves. Also, I've obtained some resources as well. As for those weapons, I'll be distributing them to my brothers in the God-Slaying Squad. I won't be handing them over, Night Sorrow said. No one disagreed. It could be said that Night Sorrow had dominated the war. After telling Night Sorrow that True Ocean Saint and Black Dragon Saint's funerals would be in 3 days, and that the Three-Realm celebration would be in 7 days, the commander's residence's people all left. That was because Night Sorrow also needed to rest and reunite with his family. Everyone knew that Night Sorrow had been under a lot of pressure during this time. After the commander's residence's people left, the God-Slaying Squad's people returned from the central prefecture. Yin Yinxiao also returned to the city in the sky. Brother, you're very powerful. You killed several peak holy kings. Right now, the immortal holy king Night Sorrow's name is like thunder in the Nine Regions world, said Yin Yinxiao to Night Sorrow. Haha, how have you been recently? Has your cultivation been smooth? Asked Night Sorrow with a smile. Of course it's been smooth. My cultivation has been smooth, said Yin Yinxiao. She was already a mid-stage venerable and was the most outstanding child of the Sacred Hall's batch. After the family enjoyed dinner, they chatted on the viewing platform of the residence. When Yuio asked about the exchange of hostages, Night Sorrow thought about it and told him about the situation and his plans. Son, the Nine Regions world is our territory. It's already so difficult for us to win a war, yet you still want to go to other people's territory. Yu Qing was a little unwilling, mainly because it was too dangerous. Mother, if I don't go out, I'll be stuck at a bottleneck for the rest of my life. I won't be able to achieve anything higher. I don't want that. Also, the matter of the Moon Empress must be prepared for a rainy day, said Night Sorrow. You're a Saint King and have a lifespan of 10,000 years. There's nothing to worry about, said Yu Qing. Mother, I have a doppelganger similar to my true body in the Heaven Sealing Grand Hall. As long as the Nine Regions world is not destroyed, my doppelganger will not be destroyed. If something happens to me, that doppelganger will be my true body, said Yishang. So that's how it is. All right, Mother won't stop you, but your wife can't come with you, said Yu Qing. Yu Qing's consideration was based on the fact that the whole family needed someone to stay together. Understand, Night Sorrow nodded. Over the next few days, after attending the funerals of Zhan Haisheng and Black Dragon Saint, Night Sorrow accompanied his family and didn't care about anything else. In the past, because he had been worried about the massacre, he had been working hard on his cultivation, so Night Sorrow didn't spend time with his family. In addition, Night Sorrow told his parents that he wanted to resign from his position as commander and that he would leave the Nine Regions world. He wouldn't have time to manage things, so he might as well let someone else do it. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing both supported Night Sorrow's idea. In their hearts, they didn't need their child to have great achievements, as long as he was happy. In addition, Night Sorrow had done everything he could. Night Sorrow's 3 wives also supported him, and Xue, she didn't have any objections. Wu Lingfei, who stayed in the city in the sky, also didn't express any opinions. Night Sorrow relaxed for a few days. Tai Shiyin came to invite Night Sorrow to the commander's residence. Today was the day of the celebration. Night Sorrow brought his family and the members of the God-slaying squad to the commander's residence. At this time, the commander's residence had been rebuilt, and it was even more majestic and domineering. The square in front of the commander's residence had also been expanded on the basis of the original Taiching City Square. What made Yishang flabbergasted was that there was a 9-zhong tall statue erected at the front of the plaza. It was him with the reincarnation spear on his back. His white battle robe fluttered in the wind as if it was about to come to life. How is it? This is the work of the Eastern Profound Region sculptor, Lei Hua, said Xiaolan Jun with a smile. This isn't appropriate. Victory in the war is the result of everyone's efforts, not mine alone, said Night Sorrow. He had never thought that a statue of himself would appear. There's nothing inappropriate about it. You killed 3 Saint Kings and a peak Saint King ferocious beast. You were the one who dominated the battle. Without your help, the Nine Regions world would be in a mess today. Long Xinxing said. Above, Commander, go on the stage and say a few words, said Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow thought for a moment, then walked to the platform in front of the square and looked at the crowd. After seeing Night Sorrow appear, the originally joyous crowd quieted down. This time, our Nine Regions world won the war. It wasn't easy, and we paid the price of blood and lives. Here, I thank the heroes who fought for our Nine Regions world. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he bowed twice to the sky. Withstanding the great calamity of slaughter is a new beginning for our Nine Regions world. Everything will be better, and I will continue to work hard. However, from today onwards, I will no longer be the commander. I will also start a new chapter in my life, said Night Sorrow. At this moment, everyone looked at Night Sorrow in a daze. No one had thought that Night Sorrow would say that last sentence. No one could accept it because Night Sorrow was their backbone. Speak. Chapter 960. That won't do. Commander, what are you doing? Long Xiansheng and the others were already on the platform. I'm really not suitable to be a commander anymore. There are still many things I need to do. The Tianan dynasty of the Tianxian world suffered a loss this time and will not let it go. In addition, I also need to break the shackles of the Nine Regions world the shackles that prevent us from entering the Tianxin realm, Yishang said. But Commander, other than you, it'll be very difficult for others to manage the 3 spatial worlds. It'll be very difficult to convince the masses. Long Xiansheng looked at the people present, mainly Zhu Jiuyun and Jun Xuanji. You should still be the commander. The vice commander and elders of the commander's residence can help you share the burden, said Jun Xuanji. It's not suitable to not do anything and still occupy the position, said Knight Sorrow as he shook his head. At this time, the crowd also became restless. Everyone knew that the commander was the immortal holy king, Knight Sorrow. Under his leadership, the 9-domain world had developed at an unprecedented rate. Now that Knight Sorrow wanted to retreat, it had a huge impact on everyone. Everyone, don't worry. The commander's residence will have a perfect solution for this matter, said Long Xianxing. Yes, everyone, don't worry. No matter when, no matter where, as long as the 9-domain world needs me, I, Knight Sorrow, will definitely stand up. Even if I die in battle, I won't take half a step back, promised Knight Sorrow. Everyone who responded to Knight Sorrow bowed in greeting. At this time, Knight Sorrow once again felt the power of virtue enter his body. Outside his spirit sea, the golden halo behind his head became even more conspicuous. After Knight Sorrow returned the bow, he followed the people from the commander's residence back into the commander's residence. Commander, none of us can accept your sudden decision, said Jun Xuanji. But I'm really not suitable. I plan to go to the limitless realm and then enter the profound heaven world. They're trying to kill us. This is an insult to us. I can't tolerate this, Yishang said. But this has nothing to do with you being the commander. We only need the vice commander and elders. If there's anything, we can discuss it. Don't talk about stepping down. That will really disappoint the cultivators and commoners of the 3 realms, said Yin Tianlong. We all know that it's been hard on you, but the commander's residence and the 3 realms need a pillar of support. If someone else were to be the commander, it would be hard to convince the masses. It would be detrimental to the stability of the 3 realms, said Xian Wenxiu. He trusted Yishang, so he was worried that a change in commander would affect the profound mysteries realm. Hearing everyone's words, Yishang could only nod. He couldn't refuse. Then, a grand banquet was held, and the real celebration began. After drinking with everyone, Yishang brought his wife back to the city in the sky. No need to worry. I'm just going to take a look. I'll come back once I understand the situation, said Knight Sorrow. He wouldn't bring the girls, even if Yu Qing agreed. After hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Yang Lei thought about it and didn't say anything. She knew that this matter couldn't be discussed. It wasn't just Yu Qing's idea. Knight Sorrow didn't agree either. Knight Sorrow didn't go to the Wuji world directly. He hadn't cultivated the Myriad Dao treasured tome to the peak yet. Inside the space-time treasure pagoda, Knight Sorrow meditated inside the dragon cauldron to recover. At the same time, he checked the situation outside. At this moment, in the Wuji world Wuji city, a phantom appeared in the sky-bearing palace. Greetings, Realm Lord, said the 2 elders in the sky-bearing palace as they bowed. The 2 of you, go to the spatial barrier area that connects to the 9-domain world and check it out. There's an energy fluctuation there, said the phantom before disappearing. Knight Sorrow meditated peacefully inside the dragon cauldron. He knew that this was the first risk. The other risk was when he went through the transfer array from the Wuji world to the Heaven Profound world. If nothing happened, then he could enter the Heaven Profound world safely. In the beginning of the 2nd book, you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.